The silent alarm echoed through Horizon long before any warning appeared on the bridge. Kai's eyes opened almost instantly. It was not the sharp emergency tone used during pirate attacks or system failures. This sound was slower, deeper, almost rhythmic, as if an ancient heartbeat hidden somewhere inside the old transport vessel had begun beating again after centuries of silence. The bridge remained dim, illuminated only by rows of blue navigation lights stretching across the worn consoles. Beyond the forward viewport, Vera Station floated against the darkness of space, its countless docking rings glowing like a mechanical constellation. Nothing outside appeared unusual. Nothing inside appeared damaged. Yet the feeling refused to leave. Kai rose from the captain's chair and walked toward the central holographic table. The familiar golden interface materialized before him. Cosmic exchange system, passive observation complete. Logistics influence updated. Connected settlements. 3 connected independent merchant networks. 7 emergency route. Database synchronization. Synchronization progress. 2%. Kai frowned. This was new. The system rarely announced passive changes without prompting. Another line slowly appeared beneath it. Ancient root fragment detected. Signal source, unknown. Estimated age, unable to calculate. Before Kai could examine the notification further, Horizon's bridge speakers crackled. "Captain," the calm mechanical voice of the emergency maintenance unit echoed through the bridge. "I have detected an encrypted transmission." Kai looked toward the nearest console. Origin? Unknown. Faction? Unknown. Faction? Unknown. Encryption standard? A brief pause followed. None recognized. That answer unsettled him more than any warning could have. Across the civilized galaxy, every government, corporation, merchant consortium, and military alliance relied upon known communication standards. Even pirates modified existing encryption protocols. An unrecognized transmission should have been impossible, unless it came from somewhere that had never been part of the modern network. Kai remained silent. The synchronization percentage continued climbing. 3%, 4%, 5%. The bridge lights flickered, not from malfunction, from synchronization. Golden streams of light flowed beneath the deck, plating like veins awakening beneath sleeping skin. Horizon itself seemed to breathe. Then another notification appeared. Passive database recovery complete. Recovered navigation fragment. 0.003%. New information available. Kai selected it immediately. The holographic star map expanded across the bridge. Hundreds of familiar trade routes shimmered across nearby sectors. Then something impossible appeared. Beyond the mapped frontier, a faint thread of pale gold extended into completely uncharted space. Unlike normal routes, it did not connect to active gateways. It ignored established hyperspace corridors entirely. Instead, it curved naturally through unstable gravitational currents that every modern navigation database classified as impossible to cross safely. Kai narrowed his eyes. This route shouldn't exist. The maintenance unit answered quietly. "It does." "You recognize it?" "No." "Then why are you certain?" "Because Horizon recognizes it." Silence returned. Kai studied the route carefully. His years as an interstellar route analyst immediately noticed something unusual. This wasn't simply the shortest path. It was the safest. Every dangerous stellar nursery, every unstable pulsar, every pirate-controlled junction, every collapsing gateway. The route slipped naturally between them, as though whoever designed it possessed complete knowledge of the galaxy long before modern civilizations existed. It wasn't luck, it was intention. Someone had engineered logistics itself. A soft chime interrupted his thoughts. An incoming communication request. Caller identification, Lena Voren. Kai accepted. The merchant captain appeared on the holographic display. Unlike their first meeting, her expression carried neither desperation nor caution. Only genuine respect. "I hope I'm not interrupting." "You aren't." "I heard something unusual happened at Dock 9. Kai smiled faintly. News travels quickly. In frontier stations, Asians, survival depends on information. She leaned slightly forward. I also heard Horizon received priority maintenance authorization. Kai did not answer immediately. She noticed. I'll take that silence as confirmation. What brings you here? Her expression became more serious. I owe you a favor. You already repaid your debt? I repaid the cargo. She shook her head. I haven't repaid the route. Kai remained quiet. For independent merchants, a reliable route often meant the difference between prosperity and bankruptcy. It was worth far more than cargo. Lena continued. My convoy is leaving tomorrow. Destination: the Ashen Corridor. Kai's attention sharpened. The Ashen Corridor lay dangerously close to several abandoned gateway chains. Traffic had steadily declined over the past 2 decades. Insurance premiums had tripled. Many captains refused assignments there entirely. Why accept the contract? Because someone has to. She smiled wearily. Free frontier settlements depend on those deliveries. Kai remembered the route. Medical supplies, water filtration membranes, atmospheric processors. Without those shipments, entire colonies could begin failing within weeks. Connection creates civilization. The phrase surfaced quietly in his mind, not as a slogan, as a simple truth. Civilizations rarely collapsed because they lost battles. They collapsed because the supplies stopped arriving. Lena spoke again. I was hoping... She hesitated. That you might look at my navigation plan. Kai blinked. That's all? She laughed softly. Captain Kai, after watching you save an entire convoy without firing a shot. I trust your routes more than military escorts. He couldn't help smiling. I'll take a look. I'll transmit everything. The communication ended. The bridge became quiet once more. Almost immediately another notification appeared. Merchant reputation increased. Independent trade network confidence, 4%. New exchange opportunities available. Kai stared at the notification for a moment, before dismissing it. Reputation. Another invisible resource. Not measured in credits. Not measured in firepower. But often more valuable than either. Outside the viewport, merchant freighters drifted slowly between docking rings, while maintenance drones crawled across station hulls like glowing insects. Life continued. Trade continued. Somewhere beyond the station, governments negotiated treaties. Pirates searched for vulnerable convoys. Corporate executives calculated profits. Entire colonies waited for supplies that had not yet arrived. The galaxy never paused, even while Horizon rested. Then, the maintenance unit spoke again. Captain? Yes. The recovered route fragment has activated a secondary search protocol. Kai looked back toward the holographic star map. What is it searching for? I do not know. Golden symbols began appearing one after another across unexplored regions far beyond recognized space. 1, then 3, then 7. Each vanished almost immediately, as though the system were testing ancient beacons that no longer answered, until one remained illuminated, far beyond the frontier, far beyond every registered colony. Far beyond every active gateway, a single point of pale golden light continued blinking quietly against the darkness. The maintenance unit's voice became noticeably softer. I have received. It paused for nearly 3 seconds. A reply. Kai slowly looked toward the impossible beacon. His pulse quickened, because whatever had answered was still out there. The bridge remained silent. No alarms sounded. No emergency indicators flashed across the consoles. That, more than anything else, unsettled Kai. Unknown contacts normally triggered layers of automated warnings. Yet Horizon accepted the distant response with the same quiet certainty as recognizing an old friend after centuries apart. The golden beacon pulsed once, then again. Each pulse was separated by exactly 17 seconds. The interval never changed. Kai enlarged the surrounding star map. Nothing. No registered system. No gateway. No trade lane. No mining colonies. No military outposts. According to every modern navigation database, the beacon existed in empty space. But an empty space rarely remained empty forever. Someone had once built something there. The maintenance unit continued analyzing the signal. Transmission integrity 98%. Language undetermined. Can you decode it? I am not attempting to decode it, Kai frowned. Why? Because I believe it is not intended for translation. The answer drew his full attention. What do you mean? The holographic display shifted. Instead of textual data, thousands of tiny luminous nodes appeared, arranging themselves into a vast three-dimensional web stretching across the unexplored frontier. One by one, countless sections of the web remained dark. Only a handful glowed faintly. The blinking beacon occupied one of those surviving points. It is not transmitting information. The maintenance unit paused. It is announcing existence. Kai stared quietly at the projection, like a lighthouse. Not speaking, simply declaring that it still stood. His years as an interstellar route analyst began assembling possibilities. Communication consumed enormous energy across interstellar distances. No civilization would waste power broadcasting continuously unless maintaining contact itself carried strategic value. A navigation beacon, a logistics relay, an emergency refuge, an automated supply station, each possibility fit. Each raised even more questions. The bridge doors slid open. Juno stepped inside carrying 2 steaming cups. She stopped after noticing the projection suspended above the command table. I thought you'd still be awake. Kai accepted one of the drinks without taking his eyes from the map. Thank you. She stood beside him. For several moments neither spoke. The silence between them had gradually become comfortable over recent weeks. What happened? Kai pointed toward the distant beacon. Horizon found something. She followed his gaze. That far. Farther. Juno studied the hologram carefully. I've never seen a route mapped through those sectors. Neither has anyone else. Her expression slowly changed. Started thinking about Horizon differently. Kai finally looked at her. When we first boarded, she smiled faintly. I thought she was an abandoned ship. Her hand rested gently against the nearby bulkhead. Now she feels like someone who's been trying to remember. Kai followed her hand. For the first time since taking command, he wondered how many memories remained buried inside Horizon's ancient systems. How many journeys? How many captains? How many civilizations? The ship itself might be carrying history no modern archive possessed. The thought lingered, then disappeared as another notification appeared. New exchange opportunity available. Objective: verify ancient beacon status. Difficulty: unknown. Recommended resources: independent survey vessel, long-range supply capability, advanced route analysis. Reward: ancient navigation archive fragment. Additional rewards based on preservation status. Mission timer: none. Kai read the objective twice. No countdown, no urgency. The system was giving him a choice. He appreciated that, because charging into unexplored space without preparation would be foolish. He dismissed the notification. You're not leaving immediately. Juno's tone sounded more like certainty than a question. Kai smiled. No. She nodded approvingly. I was hoping you'd say that. The route isn't going anywhere, and if it survived hundreds of years, it can survive a few more weeks. Juno laughed quietly. I like this version of Captain Kai. What version? The one who plans. Kai looked toward the glowing trade lanes surrounding Vera Station. The route will still be there. Our supplies won't. Our maintenance reserves won't. Our spare parts won't. He pointed toward several nearby. Commercial sectors. We need fuel contracts, sensor upgrades, emergency repair modules, long-duration life support supplies, reliable merchants, and information. Juno nodded after every point. The list kept growing. None of it sounded heroic, yet every item increased their chances of returning alive. Preparation was invisible. Success rarely was. Far away, beyond the station's civilian districts, another meeting was taking place. Inside a polished conference chamber aboard an orbital corporate administration platform, a projection of horizon rotated slowly above an obsidian table. 7 executives watched in silence. One finally spoke. "This is the vessel." Another nodded. "The independent merchants continue mentioning it. The convoy incident, the route optimization, the ownership dispute, the maintenance authorization." Each report appeared insignificant by itself. Together, however, they formed an unusual pattern. One executive folded his hands. "Has Horizon begun transporting strategic cargo? No. Military contracts? No. Government funding? No." The room fell silent again. "So why?" Another executive asked calmly. "Does an obsolete cargo vessel continue appearing at the center of statistically improbable events?" No one answered immediately. Finally, an elderly woman activated another report. "Because someone aboard that ship understands logistics." The projection shifted. Instead of showing Horizon, it displayed trade routes, insurance costs, shipping delays, cargo losses. Merchant migration. Downdiga. Aniwantador. Idandabwashana. Items were wigradimzai. The elderly executive continued. "Most corporations compete by owning ships. They compete by buying weapons. They compete by controlling stations." She enlarged several frontier sectors. But the individual who controls movement, her finger rested upon the expanding network surrounding Vera Station, eventually influences all of them, no one argued. Because history supported her claim. Empires rose through conquest. They endured through logistics. She deactivated the display. "Do not interfere with Horizon." Several executives looked surprised. For now. Her gaze remained fixed upon the disappearing image of Kai's ship. "I want to know where it chooses to go." "Back aboard Horizon." Kai remained unaware that distant corporations had begun watching. His attention was entirely focused on a simpler problem. The ship's supply inventory, fuel, food, replacement reactor components, hull repair alloys, sensor calibration crystals. The list seemed endless. He sighed softly. Juno looked over. "Thinking about the beacon?" Kai smiled. "Actually," he highlighted the maintenance budget. "I'm wondering how we're going to afford all this." She leaned closer. After a few seconds, both of them burst into laughter. Even mysterious ancient civilizations could wait. Bills, unfortunately, could not. The laughter gradually faded. Neither of them noticed the pale golden beacon blinking patiently beyond the edge of explored space. It never stopped. Every 17 seconds, as though something beyond the frontier knew Horizon had finally awakened, and was willing to wait for her return. The first merchant to refuse Horizon's offer arrived before sunrise station time. Kai had expected negotiation. Instead, he received a lesson. Dock 12 bustled with its usual organized chaos. Autonomous cargo loaders floated between docking berths carrying standardized freight containers, while technicians hurried beneath suspended fuel lines. Merchant captains barked instructions across open communication channels. Every movement served a purpose. Every delay carried a cost. Horizon remained moored quietly among far newer vessels, her repaired hull still bearing countless scars from another era. Captain Darius Kell stood at the bottom of Horizon's boarding ramp, arms folded. "I appreciate the proposal." His expression remained respectful. "But I can't accept." Kai nodded. "No offense taken. I figured you'd ask why. I was hoping you would." Darius glanced around the busy dock before lowering his voice. "Your route is excellent. You've already proven that. The problem isn't your navigation." Kai waited. "It's your ship." He looked toward Horizon. "Insurance companies still classify her as an unstable reclamation vessel. My clients won't." Approve cargo transfers, no matter how safe your routes are. Kai absorbed the answer without argument. It wasn't personal. It was infrastructure. Trust took far longer to build than routes. Darius continued. If you survive another few months, if your reliability record grows, if station authorities officially upgrade Horizon's operating classification, he smiled apologetically. Then we'll talk again. After he departed, Juno walked over carrying a datapad. That didn't go badly. No, it actually went well. She raised an eyebrow. He told us exactly what we're missing. Kai looked across the docking district. A reputation isn't enough. We need institutional trust. Juno nodded. The route gets merchants interested. The ship gets insurers nervous. Kai opened the station registry. Hundreds of certifications filled the display. Commercial freight reliability, long-range rescue qualification, independent survey accreditation, hazard transit license, emergency relief transport. Each represented months of inspections and completed contracts. Each increased credibility. The Galaxy ran on paperwork almost as much as it ran on engines. A soft notification chimed. Cosmic Exchange System new insight recorded. Infrastructure creates trust. Exchange reward available. Kai accepted. Instead of credits, a detailed report appeared. Frontier Logistics Reliability Index. The report ranked dozens of independent transport companies operating throughout nearby sectors. It measured on-time deliveries, mechanical failures, cargo losses, rescue participation, emergency response, merchant recommendations, insurance ratings. Kai's eyes widened. This isn't public information. No. The maintenance unit answered from the bridge speakers. It is observed information. Kai immediately understood. The system wasn't cheating. It wasn't inventing knowledge. It simply noticed patterns that no individual organization possessed. Connection created information. Information created better decisions. The report highlighted several companies. One in particular caught Kai's attention. Orient Supply Cooperative. Medium-sized, excellent reliability. Financial distress. Repeated maintenance delays. Reason: replacement reactor coolant unavailable. Kai enlarged the report. The cooperative served 6 frontier settlements. Without reactor coolant, 3 of their cargo vessels would be grounded within 10 days. Grounded transports meant delayed food shipments. Delayed food shipments meant rising prices. Rising prices meant political instability. A simple maintenance shortage threatened an entire logistics chain. Kai smiled slightly. I think we just found our next opportunity. Juno read through the report. We don't even sell reactor coolant. No, but we know who does. She looked at him. You aren't planning to become a trader. I'm planning to connect. People who already have what others need. The realization settled between them. He didn't need to own every resource. He only needed to connect the right people. Later that afternoon, Horizon's modest conference room hosted its largest meeting since Kai became captain. Around the table sat representatives from 3 independent merchants, 2 salvage operators, a fuel broker, and Lena Voren. Nobody knew exactly why Kai had invited them. The room buzzed with quiet curiosity. Kai activated the central display. Instead of presenting contracts, he projected a regional trade map. Colored lines connected dozens of stations. Many ended abruptly. Several glowed red. Supply interruptions. We all compete? Kai began calmly. Heads nodded. But we also depend on each other. He highlighted one route. This merchant has cargo. Another. This station has fuel. Another. This cooperative needs reactor coolant. One by one, invisible relationships appeared. The map gradually transformed into a living web. I spent years analyzing routes, but routes are only half the equation. He looked around the room. The other half is people. Silence settled over the gathering. Kai continued. Right now each of you negotiates separately. You duplicate transportation. You compete for docking schedules. You buy emergency fuel. individually. You solve the same problems over and over. Several captains exchanged thoughtful glances. Kai smiled. What if you didn't? A murmur spread through the room. Lena leaned forward. You're suggesting cooperation. I'm suggesting efficiency. He enlarged another section. If 3 ships leave tomorrow carrying half-full cargo holds, why not 1 fully loaded vessel instead? The fuel brokers slowly nodded. Lower operating costs. The salvage operator added quietly. Less maintenance. Another merchant continued. Lower insurance exposure. Without realizing it, they had begun finishing one another's calculations. Kai stepped back from the display. I don't intend to own your businesses. I don't intend to control your routes. I simply want to make movement easier. For several moments no one spoke. Finally Lena laughed. I knew it. Kai blinked. Knew what? You don't think like a transporter. She looked around the room. You think like infrastructure. The words lingered in the air. Infrastructure. Not the center. The foundation. The foundation. The meeting continued for nearly 3 hours. No grand alliance formed. No dramatic contracts were signed. Instead, something much smaller, and perhaps far more important, occurred. Business cards were exchanged. Communication channels opened. Delivery schedules compared. Problems shared. By the end of the meeting, people who had spent years competing had begun talking. Outside Horizon's conference room, the galaxy remained unaware. Pirate bands continued stalking isolated convoys. Colonial governors debated shrinking budgets. Corporate analysts quietly updated reports on an aging cargo ship that kept appearing where profitable opportunities emerged. Far beyond explored space, the ancient beacon pulsed again. 17 seconds. Then, 17 more. Patient. Steady. Waiting. Back aboard Horizon, the maintenance unit interrupted Kai's review of the meeting notes. Captain, what is it? The synchronization process has reached 8%. Kai looked up immediately. Another golden notification unfolded across the bridge. Ancient route database updated. 1 additional route fragment recovered. Estimated destination overlap, 87%. The holographic map expanded. The single beacon remained. But now. A second, much fainter golden point flickered into existence hundreds of light years away. Unlike the first, it flashed only once, then vanished completely. The maintenance unit spoke in an unusually quiet tone. It appears, it paused as if processing something beyond its current understanding. The network is beginning to remember itself. The first request arrived before Kai had even finished reviewing the meeting records. It did not come from a government, nor a corporation, nor even one of the merchants who had attended Horizon's gathering. Instead, the sender identified itself simply as the Orion Supply Cooperative. The same name, the Cosmic Exchange System, had highlighted only hours earlier. Kai opened the transmission. A tired, middle-aged woman appeared against the backdrop of a modest cargo operations office. Behind her, workers hurried between stacked containers while portable repair drones hovered over the exposed reactor, housing of a grounded freighter. My name is Director Lara Moss. Her voice carried the exhaustion of someone who had spent too many nights solving impossible problems. I was told you might be able to help. Kai remained silent, allowing her to continue. We don't require charity. We don't need investment. We simply need reactor coolant. She activated a regional logistics map. Our supplier's convoy disappeared 4 days ago. Our replacement shipment is delayed indefinitely. Our emergency reserves will last another 6 days. The display zoomed outward. 6 settlements relied upon Orion's cargo fleet, agricultural equipment, medical shipments, atmospheric filters, construction materials. None of it sounded dramatic, yet Kai immediately understood the implications. If Orion stopped moving, 6 settlements would begin slowing, factories would idle, repairs would stall, food prices would rise. The damage would spread outward like ripples across water. Connection was fragile. Ilara sighed. We've contacted everyone. No one has spare coolant. No one is willing to divert existing contracts. I understand if you can't help. She ended the transmission without attempting to negotiate. Kai remained standing before the fading hologram. Juno entered moments later. You look like someone handed you another impossible problem. Kai smiled. I think someone handed us a logistics puzzle. He replayed the message. Juno listened quietly. When it ended, she crossed her arms. So, we still don't have reactor coolant. No. We don't know where the missing convoy is. No. And we can't manufacture the coolant ourselves. No. She looked at him expectantly. So what's the plan? Kai enlarged the regional trade network. I don't think the coolant disappeared. Juno tilted her head. The convoy did. Exactly. He highlighted the original shipment. It left on schedule. It vanished before delivery. No distress call. No pirate reports. No debris. No insurance claim. Juno frowned. That's strange. It's statistically strange. Kai nodded. A convoy doesn't simply vanish, especially carrying low-value industrial supplies. She leaned over the table. So, either someone stole it, or something interrupted the route. Kai zoomed farther outward. Several nearby routes intersected the convoy's planned journey. One passed through a slowly collapsing gateway. Another crossed territory frequently patrolled by independent militias. The third skirted an aging asteroid refinery. He studied each possibility, then dismissed two almost immediately. The gateway collapse would have generated rescue traffic. The militia zone required registered transit records. Neither fit. His attention settled on the refinery, not because of the station itself, because of what surrounded it. Dozens of tiny independent mining operations. Unregistered salvage crews. Temporary docking platforms. The perfect place for cargo to disappear without violence. Juno noticed. You think they sold it? I think someone offered more money. She blinked. The convoy diverted voluntarily? Kai nodded. Industrial reactor coolant isn't valuable? Unless dozens of mining stations suddenly need emergency? Cooling systems. He enlarged mining production reports. Several asteroid operations had dramatically increased output over the past month. Higher production, higher reactor temperatures, higher coolant demand. Someone desperate enough might pay several times normal market price. Juno smiled. So instead of chasing pirates, we follow economics. Kai returned the smile. Cargo usually follows profit. A notification interrupted them. Cosmic exchange system analysis confirmed. Route probability updated. Most likely cargo location. 84%. Kai laughed quietly. The system agrees. The maintenance unit spoke from the bridge. Captain, I have received docking requests. Who is it? 3 independent merchants. Kai looked surprised. They're requesting cooperative scheduling. Juno's row. Eyes widened. The meeting. It worked. Within a single day, merchants had begun voluntarily coordinating deliveries through Horizon. Not because Kai possessed authority, because cooperation saved time. Another small thread had been added to the growing network. Elsewhere within Vera Station, that development did not go unnoticed. Inside the office of Station Administrator Rowan, several reports lay scattered across a large desk. His deputy entered carrying another datapad. More requests. Rowan looked up. For Horizon, the deputy nodded. Shared warehouse reservations, joint cargo manifests, multi-convoy departure scheduling. Rowan slowly leaned back. Interesting. The deputy frowned. Should we intervene? Rowan shook his head. No. He walked toward the viewport overlooking the station's commercial district. For decades we've tried encouraging independent merchants to cooperate. They never did. Now, they're doing it voluntarily. His gaze settled upon Horizon resting quietly within Dock 9. Do you know why? The deputy remained silent. Because nobody believes they're surrendering control. They believe they're gaining efficiency. He smiled. Faintly. The young captain understands something most administrators forget. You don't build civilization by giving orders. You build it by making cooperation easier than competition. Far beyond Vera Station, another development unfolded. Deep inside an aging asteroid field, a small cargo vessel powered down its engines beside a forgotten docking platform. Its cargo containers bore Orion Supply Cooperative Identification markings. Workers hurried to unload reactor coolant canisters. A man wearing an unmarked environmental suit watched quietly from an observation deck. His face remained hidden behind polarized glass. One of his subordinates approached. "The buyers have paid." The man nodded. "No witnesses? None? No violence?" "None." He continued, watching the cargo disappear into hidden storage. "Good, we're merchants. Not pirates." The subordinate, not pirates. The subordinate hesitated. "What about Orion? They'll survive." The man's tone remained calm. "They'll simply learn that supply shortages change markets." Neither of them noticed the old navigation beacon, mounted high above the forgotten docking platform. Its power systems had long since failed. Its casing was covered by centuries of dust. Yet, for the briefest moment, a faint golden light flickered beneath the layers of corrosion, then disappeared. Thousands of light years away, Horizon's bridge received another pulse from the distant beacon. The interval remained unchanged. 17 seconds. Another pulse. Then another. The maintenance unit processed the latest synchronization update before speaking quietly. "Captain." Kai looked up. "The ancient route network has identified a new point of interest." The holographic map expanded once more. The original beacon still glowed steadily. The second remained dark. But now, a third location shimmered into existence. Unlike the others, this one was moving. Not quickly. Not randomly. It drifted slowly across an uncharted sector, as if an ancient vessel was still traveling. The moving beacon changed direction. Kai replayed the holographic recording 3 times before speaking. "It isn't drifting." Juno looked up from the engineering diagnostics. "It changed course. It corrected course." The distinction mattered. Natural debris followed predictable orbital mechanics. Even derelict ships drifted according to gravity and momentum. The Golden Point had done neither. It had adjusted its trajectory by less than a single degree. An almost insignificant correction. Yet it proved one undeniable fact. Something had made a decision. The bridge remained unusually quiet. The maintenance unit continued processing the ancient network data. "Estimated propulsion signature?" Kai asked. "Insufficient information." "Estimated mass? Unknown?" "Estimated origin? No reliable calculation available?" Kai enlarged the surrounding sector. The moving beacon traveled through one of the least charted regions beyond the frontier. No registered trade routes. No permanent settlements. No active gateways. Modern civilization had little reason to venture there. Yet whatever carried that beacon had continued moving long after the old network disappeared. Juno folded her arms. If something survived that long, it learned to survive without everyone else. Kai nodded. Or it never needed everyone else. That possibility lingered between them. An isolated station. An automated logistics vessel. An automated logistics vessel. An ancient maintenance fleet. Or survivors. The thought remained unspoken. Speculation without evidence helped no one. Kai closed the projection. "We're still not ready." Juno smiled knowingly. "You keep saying that. Because it's true. Our curiosity doesn't increase our fuel reserves." She laughed softly. "I was hoping you'd forgotten about the budget." "I wish I had." The bridge doors opened. Director Rowan entered without ceremony. He carried a thin datapad beneath one arm. "I hope I'm not interrupting." Kai stood. "Not at all." Rowan looked around Horizon's bridge. Compared to military command centers or corporate flagships, Horizon remained humble. The consoles showed signs of repeated repairs. Some bulkheads still retained weld marks from emergency maintenance. The bridge possessed no luxury, only purpose. I attended your merchant meeting. Kai looked surprised. You never announced yourself. I wasn't there as administrator? Rowan smiled. I was listening. He placed the data pad onto the command table. The station council approved something. Kai activated the document. Independent Logistics Coordination License. Temporary Frontier Status. He looked up. This allows joint scheduling, shared manifests, emergency freight redistribution, limited cooperative warehousing. Rowan nodded. Nothing revolutionary. But enough. Kai understood immediately. But enough. Kai understood immediately. Until now, every cooperative arrangement required separate approval. Now Horizon could coordinate independent merchants under a single recognized framework. Paperwork. Not excitement. Yet, it removed dozens of bureaucratic obstacles. Connection became easier. Exactly as Rowan intended. I didn't do this for you. The administrator spoke calmly. I did it because your meeting revealed a weakness in our station. Kai listened. We built excellent docks. We built excellent warehouses. We built excellent warehouses. Markets. He looked toward the viewport overlooking the commercial district. But we never built cooperation. His gaze returned to Kai. You reminded everyone that infrastructure isn't only steel. It is trust. The words settled quietly inside Kai's mind. Infrastructure wasn't merely ships, or gateways, or stations. It was the willingness of strangers to depend upon one another. Rowan turned toward the exit. Oh, one more thing. He activated another report. A small mining consortium requested permission to join your scheduling network. Kai recognized the location instantly. The same asteroid region where the missing reactor coolant convoy most likely disappeared. Interesting. He accepted the request without comment. After Rowan departed, Juno leaned against the command table. That was easier than expected. Kai shook his head. No, it only looks easy. He enlarged the mining consortium's profile. They're approaching us, not the other way around. Why? They need something. Exactly. He smiled faintly. And now we need to figure out what. Several hours later, Horizon's cargo bay welcomed its newest visitors. 3 representatives from the mining consortium stepped cautiously aboard. Unlike professional merchants, their work uniforms still carried fresh mineral dust. Their boots bore scratches from uneven asteroid terrain. These were people accustomed to solving problems with tools rather than contracts. The oldest introduced himself. I'm Garrick. We operate 12 mining platforms. Kai offered a handshake. What brings you here? Garrick hesitated. We're looking for transport coordination, not cargo. Information. Kai remained silent. The miner continued. Our freight schedules have become unusual. In what way? Garrick activated his datapad. Several cargo deliveries had arrived days ahead of schedule. Others never arrived. A few had appeared carrying goods nobody remembered ordering. Juno frowned. That's impossible. So we thought. Garrick enlarged another record. One shipment particularly caught Kai's attention. Industrial reactor coolant. Delivered. No registered supplier, no invoice, no payment request, no transport records. The delivery simply existed. Kai slowly looked up. When did this arrive? 5 days ago. Exactly when Orion's shipment disappeared. Not stolen. Redirected. Someone had quietly redistributed cargo across multiple frontier operators. No violence, no ransom, no demands. Only silent efficiency. Kai's analytical mind immediately rejected random chance. Someone had examined the entire regional supply network and decided where every container would create the greatest immediate value. It was exactly the type of thinking Kai himself employed, except on a larger scale. Much larger. Juno noticed his expression. "You figured something out," Kai answered slowly. "I don't think we're chasing smugglers anymore." He looked again at the cargo records. "We're chasing another logistics strategist." The words seemed almost unbelievable. For the first time since activating the cosmic exchange system, Kai no longer felt alone. Somewhere beyond the frontier, someone else understood that civilizations were shaped not only by wars, but by where every shipment arrived. Far away, the ancient moving beacon altered course once more. This time, its trajectory aligned perfectly with the newly illuminated stationary beacon. The maintenance unit processed the latest synchronization update. Its normally calm voice carried the faintest trace of uncertainty. "Captain." Kai immediately turned. "What is it?" "The network has identified a convergence event." The holographic map zoomed outward, until all three golden points appeared together. One stationary, one dormant, one moving. Thin threads of pale light began stretching between them. Not complete routes, not yet, merely possibilities. The maintenance unit spoke one final sentence. "I estimate that something is attempting to reconnect the forgotten network." It paused. From the other side, the message spread farther than anyone aboard Horizon realized. It crossed encrypted merchant channels. It traveled through fuel brokers and independent mechanics. It reached salvagers who trusted experience more than official records. Within a week, a quiet saying had begun circulating across the frontier. "If Horizon answers your call, answer theirs one day." No law enforced it. No contract required it. Yet favors possessed their own gravity. They accumulated. They returned. Sometimes years later, Kai knew none of this. He was standing inside Horizon's cargo bay, staring at an inventory report that somehow looked worse every time he opened it. Mason leaned against a cargo container. "I checked it 3 times. Kai looked up, hoping the numbers would improve, hoping I'd miscount. He shook his head. "We're short on reactor coolant, hull plating, emergency medical supplies, long-range sensor relays, and food." Juno walked into the bay carrying another datapad. "I have good news." Everyone looked toward her. "We're only short on food if we plan on eating." Mason sighed. "I miss your optimism," she smiled. "I miss your optimism," she smiled. Practicing, Kai couldn't help laughing. Even moments like these mattered. Crews survived long journeys because someone found reasons to laugh, not because everything went according to plan. The laughter faded as the architect repair unit quietly approached. Its white chassis reflected the soft cargo bay lighting, while faint golden lines pulsed beneath its smooth outer shell. "Captain." Kai turned. "What did you find?" "The merchant vessel assisted yesterday has completed repairs." "Good. It has." "Transmitted payment." Kai looked surprised. They said they couldn't afford much. They were correct. A holographic list appeared. Payment received, 2,400 credits, 1 industrial repair drone, 3 maintenance toolkits, priority docking access at 4 frontier stations, 1 personal recommendation. Juno blinked. "That's actually a lot." Kai studied the list. Not because of the credits, because of the recommendation. Recommendations multiply. Credits disappeared. The cosmic exchange system unfolded quietly. Exchange recognized. Civilian assistance completed. Relationship asset added. Merchant trust network expanded. Passive bonus. Frontier negotiation efficiency increased. Kai dismissed the notification. Another invisible asset. Exactly the kind he valued most. Several hours later, Horizon received another visitor. Unlike previous merchants, this one arrived alone. An elderly engineer wearing a faded maintenance uniform slowly stepped aboard, carrying a worn metal toolbox. He looked around Horizon with obvious familiarity. His weathered hand gently brushed one of the white architect alloy walls. "I never thought I'd see one again." Kai approached. "You're familiar with this class?" Became completely silent. Juno exchanged a quick glance with Commander Hale. The engineer chuckled. Don't look so surprised. I'm old. I've repaired enough ships to recognize good engineering. He gently tapped Horizon's wall. This alloy doesn't fatigue normally. It remembers stress. Kai narrowed his eyes. Remembers? The engineer nodded. Modern alloys crack. This one adapts. It distributes strain. It survives. He looked around with genuine admiration. Nobody makes ships like this anymore. Kai noticed something unusual. The engineer never once said architect, almost as though he didn't know the civilization's name. Only their craftsmanship. What brings you here? The old man finally looked toward Kai. I heard about your ship. I heard about the convoy, the stranded freighter, the merchant meeting. He shrugged. Thought you might need someone who still enjoys fixing impossible things. Juno smiled immediately. I like him. Mason laughed. You like everyone. Not true. She looked toward the engineer. I just like useful people. The old man opened his toolbox. Inside lay dozens of hand-built diagnostic instruments. None appeared expensive. All appeared heavily used. I don't work for free. Kai nodded. I wouldn't ask you to. I work for honesty. That answer caught Kai's attention. The engineer continued. If something can't be repaired, I'll tell you. If it can, I'll tell you that too. Commander Hale quietly smiled. I believe him. Kai extended his hand. I'm Kai. The old engineer shook it firmly. Elias? No. Family name? I left it behind. No one pressed further. Some histories deserve time before questions. For the next 4 hours, Elias walked through Horizon from bow to stern. He inspected power conduits, tapped structural supports, listened to reactor vibrations through old acoustic instruments instead of relying solely on scanners. Occasionally he smiled. More often he frowned. Finally, everyone gathered on the bridge. Elias placed his report onto the central table. The good news. Horizon isn't dying. Juno released a relieved breath. The bad news? Kai asked. The engineer looked directly at him. She's starving. Silence settled across the bridge. Elias enlarged Horizon's internal schematic. Your reactor isn't weak. It's underfed. Power routing is incomplete. Half the ship remains disconnected. He highlighted dozens of dormant systems. They aren't broken. They simply aren't receiving enough energy. Kai immediately understood. Like a city with roads but no traffic. The infrastructure existed. The connections did not. Elias continued. If you force repairs, you'll waste resources. If you reconnect the correct systems first, the ship will gradually repair herself. The architect repair unit immediately processed the statement. Analysis confirmed. Everyone looked toward the drone. It continued calmly. Architect vessels prioritized network restoration. Individual repairs were considered inefficient. Kai's analytical mind accelerated. Not repairing everything. Connecting everything. Exactly like logistics. Exactly like civilizations. Exactly like trade. The philosophy repeated itself everywhere. The strongest systems were those where every part supported another. The cosmic exchange system appeared. New principle understood. Infrastructure restoration. Reward available. Instead of credits, another internal map unfolded. This one displayed Horizon differently. Not by decks, not by rooms, but by connections, power, data, maintenance, transport, life support. Every system appeared as part of one enormous living network. Kai slowly smiled. This changes everything. Far beyond Vera Station, hidden within the forgotten asteroid platform. The anonymous logistics strategist quietly received another report. Horizon helped another merchant. They're attracting engineers now. The masked figure remained silent. Another report appeared. Independent merchants are beginning to coordinate deliveries voluntarily. Still no response. Finally, the subordinate asked, Should we interfere? The figure slowly shook his head. No. Why? The masked individual looked toward a faded star map, unlike any used by modern civilization, because he has finally begun asking the correct questions. And people who ask correct questions eventually discover the forgotten roads. The subordinate hesitated. Will he find us? The masked figure remained quiet for several long moments, then answered softly, If Horizon truly awakened, it may already be too late for us to remain hidden. At that same moment, far beyond every mapped frontier, the moving golden beacon abruptly accelerated. For the first time since Horizon detected it, its speed increased, not toward the nearest colony, not toward civilization, but toward the forgotten colony waiting in the darkness, as though something there had awakened too. The route died without a single ship exploding. That was what made Kai take the report seriously. No emergency beacon screamed across the frontier. No burning wreckage drifted between stars. No pirate broadcast claimed victory. On the surface, the corridor still existed. Ships could still pass through it. Cargo could still move. But the numbers showed the truth. The route was dying. Kai stood on Horizon's bridge, while Lyra projected the latest merchant reports above the central table. Lines of freight traffic shimmered across the holographic map, silver for active lanes, blue for scheduled deliveries, orange for delayed cargo. One narrow corridor near the eastern frontier glowed a dull, unhealthy red. Juno leaned closer. That looks bad. It is. Lyra adjusted the display. Average transit delay increased by 31%. Fuel cost increased by 18%. Insurance surcharge increased by 24%. Successful. Deliveries are still happening, but profit margins have collapsed. Mason, listening from engineering through the open comm channel, gave a low whistle, so the route isn't blocked. Kai watched the red line pulse quietly. No. It's being strangled. Commander Hale's expression darkened. Gray piracy. Juno looked at him. Gray piracy? Not enough violence to trigger a military response. Hale pointed toward the corridor. Inspections, unofficial passage fees, cargo sampling, docking penalties, safety delays, small losses, repeated often enough to kill trade. Lyra nodded grimly. That's exactly what the reports show. The first complaint had come from Dawn Trader, an independent cargo vessel carrying agricultural filters and machine parts. The captain had not requested rescue. He had not even called it an emergency. He had simply sent Horizon the numbers. 6% profit margin, 8% unofficial loss. Every successful delivery now cost him money. That was how routes died in the real galaxy. Not always in fire. Sometimes through paperwork, fear, delay, and fees, small enough for every authority to ignore. Kai enlarged the surrounding region. The affected corridor connected 3 frontier settlements, 2 mining platforms, and 1 refueling station that supplied half a dozen independent carriers. If the route collapsed, the cargo would not vanish immediately. It would reroute, slowly, inefficiently, expensively. Food shipments would arrive late. Machine parts would cost more. Medical supplies would compete for cargo space. Insurance brokers would raise rates. Small colonies would reduce orders before anyone called it a crisis. Civilization did not break all at once. It frayed. Juno folded her arms. Can we expose the pirates? Not easily. Kai highlighted the reported inspection zones. They're staying below the legal threshold. No destroyed ships. No stolen vessels. No hostage broadcasts. Commander Hale added. And if we accuse them without proof, they'll vanish for 2 weeks and return somewhere else. Mason's voice crackled through the comm. So we fight accountants with better accountants? Juno smiled. That might be Kai's final form. Kai ignored them, but the corner of his mouth moved slightly. He shifted the map away from the pirate-controlled corridor and began searching the older archive layers. Not modern trade routes, not current military patrol lanes, old survey paths, abandoned maintenance corridors, failed commercial lanes, forgotten shortcuts. Lyra noticed immediately. You're looking for another way around, not around. Kai's fingers moved through layers of dead route data. Through. Several gray lines appeared and vanished. Most were useless, too unstable, too long, too close to damaged gravitational fields. Then one ancient route flickered at the edge of the display. A thin, pale line. Not gold. Not fully recognized by the cosmic exchange system. Only a broken remnant buried inside obsolete guild data. Eastern Relay Corridor. Last recorded use. 32 years ago. Status: abandoned. Reason: unavailable. Juno stared at the line. That's comforting. Kai enlarged it. It connects almost the same endpoints. Lyra checked the calculations. If usable, it reduces travel time by 12% compared to the current corridor. Commander Hale watched quietly. And if unusable? Kai looked at the silent route. Then we find out before anyone else risks a convoy. The cosmic exchange system unfolded. Without sound. Strategic opportunity detected. Historic route verification. Risk level: moderate. Potential outcome: regional logistics recovery. Recommended approach: survey before activation. Kai studied the final line. Survey before activation. Good. Even the system did not recommend rushing. We investigate. Juno's eyes brightened. Finally. Kai looked at her. This is not a treasure hunt. Of course not. She smiled. It's an infrastructure hunt. Mason groaned over comms. That sounds worse. Hale chuckled. It sounds safer. Kai closed the projection. Small team. Horizon, 1 volunteer merchant vessel, no cargo commitment. No public reopening announcement. Lyra nodded. I'll inform Dawn Trader and ask for their latest logs. Juno stretched her arms. I'll prep navigation. Commander Hale turned toward Kai. And if this abandoned route belongs to something dangerous? Kai looked once more at the old corridor. Then we leave with information. He paused. We don't need to win today. We need the route to survive tomorrow. Horizon departed 6 hours later. The old white cargo ship moved out from Vera's docking lanes with a quiet grace that still surprised those who remembered her first condition. Her hull remained scarred, mismatched, and visibly repaired in places, but the golden lines beneath her white architect alloy glowed more evenly now. She did not look powerful. She looked persistent. Beside her flew Dawn Trader, the elderly merchant captain's vessel. It was smaller than Horizon, with a broad cargo belly and patched engine fins. Its captain had volunteered for the survey, despite having the most to lose if the corridor remained unusable. Captain Kai, the old man said over comms. His face lined with exhaustion and stubborn hope. My crew understands the risk. Kai nodded. We're not entering blind. That already makes this better than most frontier business. Juno guided Horizon toward the eastern edge of charted traffic, where active lanes thinned and beacon signals became irregular. Behind them, ordinary civilization gradually faded. Traffic control chatter weakened. Commercial advertisements vanished. Navigation buoys became older, dimmer, and farther apart. The stars ahead looked no different to the eye, but to Kai, the map had changed. The visible network ended here. Everything beyond was memory. Lyra monitored long-range scans from the bridge. No hostile contacts. Radiation normal. Gravitational tides stable. Mason reported from engineering. Power output stable. Elias says if we fly into anything stupid. He's blaming navigation, Juno replied without hesitation. Tell Elias navigation blames engineering preemptively. Elias's voice immediately cut in. I heard that. Good. Kai allowed the exchange to pass. The crew's rhythm had become another kind of system. Not perfect. Not formal. Functional. The first abandoned beacon appeared 3 hours later. It drifted alone above a field of old micro-debris, its outer casing scarred by impacts and age. The beacon's light should have been dead. Instead, a weak pulse blinked from within, once every 17 seconds. Kai felt the number before Lyra said it. 17-second interval. Juno looked toward him. Same as the ancient beacon. Kai nodded slowly. Similar. Commander Hale leaned closer to the viewport. Architect. The repair unit rolled forward. Material composition uncertain at current range. Signal rhythm compatible with Architect maintenance doctrine. Kai ordered a wider scan. Several more beacons appeared ahead. Most were dead. A few still pulsed faintly. Not enough to guide full traffic. Enough to prove the corridor had not completely died. Dawn Trader's captain whispered over the comm. 32 years. And they're still trying. No one answered. Because it felt true. They continued along the corridor slowly. Kai refused full speed. Every movement was plotted with escape vectors available, fuel expenditure tracked, and sensor coverage overlapping with Dawn Trader's shorter-range systems. The old route began revealing itself piece by piece. A damaged navigation buoy. A dormant cargo marker. A maintenance satellite whose solar vanes had folded in on themselves like withered wings. Then, finally, the abandoned relay appeared. It emerged from behind a shattered moon. A vast ring-shaped structure hung in the darkness, half station, half gateway support platform. It was not a full major gateway. Smaller, older, built for corridor maintenance rather than mass transit. White alloy ribs curved around a central void. Golden conduits ran through its frame, dim but not extinguished. Gardens clung to several sealed habitat arms beneath transparent domes, impossibly green against the dead gray moon below. Mason's voice softened. That place still has power. Lyra checked again. More than power. Life support in several sealed sections. Artificial gravity. Atmospheric regulation. Water circulation. Juno stared through the viewport. Then why? Is no one here? Kai did not answer immediately. The abandoned station rotated slowly. Not erratically. Not dead. Maintained. Tiny objects moved along its surface. Drones. Dozens of them. No, hundreds. Small, autonomous maintenance units crawled across the station's outer shell, replacing panels, clearing debris, polishing sensor arrays, reconnecting conduits. Working. Still working? For 32 years, maybe longer. Commander Hale's voice dropped. That isn't abandonment. Kai watched one drone pause beside a broken beacon, repair arm extended with delicate precision. No, it's waiting. Horizon approached carefully. The station did not warn them away. It did not welcome them either. It simply continued existing. Kai opened a low-power broadcast. This is Horizon, independent vessel, requesting permission for survey docking. Static answered. Then a single docking arm illuminated. Juno looked at the light. That's either permission or bait. Hale checked his sidearm. Both can be true. Kai turned toward Dawn Trader. Hold position outside docking range. The elderly captain nodded. Understood. Captain Kai. Yes, if this route can be reopened. His voice briefly faltered. It saves more than my ship. Kai understood. That's why we're here. Horizon docked with the abandoned relay without incident. The docking clamps moved with unnerving smoothness. No grinding, no delay, no rust. The corridor beyond the airlock pressurized before they requested it. Kai took the first step onto the station with Commander Hale, Juno, Lyra, the repair unit, and 2 maintenance drones behind him. The air smelled clean, too clean. Not stale. Not recycled beyond use. Fresh. A narrow hallway stretched ahead, lit by soft gold and pale white. The walls carried the same flowing architect lines as Horizon, but less refined, as though this station belonged to an older generation of the same philosophy. Juno touched one wall. It's warm. Lyra looked at her scanner. Atmosphere is better than Vera Station's standard. Hale scanned the corridor. No signs of struggle, no emergency damage, no bodies. Kai noticed the floor. No dust. A maintenance drone crossed the corridor ahead, carrying a replacement filter. It stopped for exactly 2 seconds. Its optic turned toward Kai. Then it resumed work. Juno whispered, "Was that rude?" The architect repair unit answered quietly. Recognition occurred. Kai looked toward it. Communication? Not yet. They moved deeper. Everywhere the station felt prepared for people who had not arrived. Benches remained clean. Hydroponic gardens flourished behind glass. Emergency shelters were stocked. Cargo rails were maintained. Docking schedules hung frozen on old displays from 32 years ago. Departure delays, weather notices, freight assignments, passenger transfer windows, ordinary life paused mid-breath. Lyra stopped before one public notice board. The screen flickered as she approached. For a moment, dozens of old messages appeared. Community market rescheduled. Gateway maintenance window extended. Medical shipment priority confirmed. Children's transit group delayed due to teacher illness. Then the display dimmed again. Lyra looked shaken. This wasn't a ruin. Kai stood beside her. No. It was a town. Commander Hale looked down the empty corridor. Then where did everyone go? No one had an answer. The central operations chamber stood at the heart of the relay. It was circular, with several levels of control platforms surrounding a hollow core where route projections once would have floated. Most terminals were dark. One awakened when Kai entered. Not when Hale entered. Not when Juno entered. Not when Juno approached. Golden light rose from the console and arranged itself into a star map of the eastern relay corridor. The system translated slowly. Awaiting route supervisor authorization. Juno looked at the words. That's new. Hale frowned. Not captain. Kai stared at the title. Route supervisor. No nobility. No military rank. No ownership. Only responsibility. The console continued. Corridor status. Dormant. Maintenance integrity. 79%. Civilian transit readiness. Insufficient. Required action. Multi-node verification. Manual beacon alignment. Emergency shelter inspection. Supply reserve confirmation. Kai read each line carefully. The station was not asking to reopen. It was asking to be checked. Properly. The repair unit rolled closer. Architect doctrine consistent. Routes may not be activated for civilian use until return capacity is verified. Hale's eyes narrowed. Return capacity? Kai remembered the doctrine. The strength of a gateway is measured not by how many pass through it, but by how many return. Not just whether ships can go through. He looked at the map. Whether they can come back safely. Juno released a slow breath. That changes everything. Kai nodded. It should. A dangerous route was not infrastructure. It was a trap with better signage. For the next 6 hours, Horizon's crew surveyed the station. They did not repair what they did not understand. They documented. Beacon condition, docking arm stress, emergency shelter supplies, atmospheric redundancy, food production, drone behavior, fuel reserve levels, escape paths. Dawn Trader assisted from outside, scanning the route approaches and relaying data back to Vera. The work was not exciting. It was slow, detailed, necessary. Mason complained exactly 7 times before Elias threatened to assign him to vent filter inventory. He stopped at 6.5. By the end of the survey, the conclusion was clear. The Eastern Relay Corridor could reopen. But not yet. Not safely. 3 beacons required realignment. 2 emergency shelters lacked medical reserves. 1 docking arm needed structural reinforcement. Several navigation buoys were functioning on backup power. And the station's drone network, while still active, did not recognize modern traffic protocols. Kai stood before the operations console and entered no authorization. Juno watched him. You could activate it. Yes. It would bypass the Grey Pirates. Probably. Dawn Trader could make profit again. Yes. She studied his face. But you're not doing it. Kai looked at the corridor map. If we reopen it before. It's ready. The first accident becomes our fault. Juno smiled faintly. You're annoying when you're right. Hale nodded with approval. Good, Captain. Kai glanced at him. Still feels like not doing enough. That's command. Hale looked across the empty chamber. Sometimes the right decision feels cowardly until people survive because of it. Kai quietly accepted the words. Then he transmitted the survey results to Dawn Trader, Vera Station, and the affected colonies. No promises. No heroic claims. No announcement that the corridor had returned. Only facts. Within 3 days, representatives from 6 settlements, 4 merchant groups, 2 repair stations, and 1 reluctant corporate supplier gathered in Vera's conference hall. Kai stood before them with the Eastern Relay Corridor projected above the table. He did not give a speech. He gave them a plan. Beacon 1 needs recalibration. Beacon 2 requires a replacement power cell. Relay station shelters require medical reserves. Docking Arm 3 needs reinforcement. Modern traffic protocols must be translated into the station drone network. Until all 5 tasks are complete, I will not recommend civilian reopening. A merchant captain raised his hand. What does Horizon gain from this? Kai looked at him. Nothing exclusively. The room murmured. A colony administrator frowned. No exclusive rights, no toll authority, no priority control. Kai shook his head. A route that depends on one ship is not infrastructure. Silence followed. Director Ilara Moss slowly smiled. Then, how do we organize contribution? Lyra stepped forward. I prepared a shared contribution schedule. The display changed. Each settlement, merchant group, and supplier received suggested responsibilities based on capability rather than wealth. Mining settlements could provide structural alloys. Agricultural colonies could stock emergency shelters. Merchants could transport beacon parts. Repair docks could assign technicians. Fuel stations could contribute reserve canisters. No one was asked to carry everything. Everyone was asked to carry something. That was the difference. The discussion began cautiously, then warmed, then accelerated. People argued over details, then solved them. They negotiated access, then widened it. They debated ownership, then slowly stopped using the word. By the end of the meeting, no alliance had been declared. No empire had been born. No great oath was sworn. Yet the Eastern Relay Restoration Schedule existed, signed by 17 independent parties. Horizon was listed not as owner, not as commander, not as sponsor, coordinator. Kai looked at the document for several seconds. It felt heavier than any title. The cosmic exchange system appeared quietly. Regional cooperation, milestone achieved. Historic route restoration initiated. Builder's reputation increased. Exchange credits awarded. Hidden evaluation progress updated. Percentage hidden. Kai dismissed the notification. He was learning to recognize the system's true rewards. The credits mattered. The reputation mattered more, but the document before him mattered most. 17 groups had agreed to rebuild a road none of them owned. That was civilization. Later, as Horizon prepared to depart Vera again, Dawn Trader's captain transmitted one final message. You could have activated the route and become rich. Kai smiled faintly, briefly. The old captain laughed. Briefly is still tempting. It is. Then why not? Kai looked toward the stars. Because I don't want merchants to use a route because they fear being left behind. I want them to use it because they know they can come home. The old captain grew quiet. Then he nodded. My father would have liked you. The transmission ended. Far beyond explored space, deep beneath the forgotten colony, the awakened architect drone stood before a sealed transit chamber. Ancient gold light flowed across the massive circular door. The chamber asked again, Has the road found its builder? This time, the drone did not answer immediately. Across distant relays, through dormant stations, along forgotten beacons, the new restoration schedule reached fragments of the old network. 17 independent parties. Shared responsibility. No exclusive ownership. No forced activation. No exploitation. The drone finally raised one hand, not to open the chamber. To report, not yet. But he understands return. The sealed door pulsed once. A response traveled silently through the forgotten colony's buried systems. Evaluation advanced. Prepare the road. On the planet's surface, lights awakened across an ancient avenue leading toward the orbital launch towers. In orbit, the relay turned fractionally toward a distant region of space where Horizon's signature had vanished into travel. And somewhere beyond every known frontier, the moving fourth node changed course again. This time, not away from civilization, toward the unfinished road. The acceleration lasted only 43 seconds. Then the moving beacon returned to its previous velocity. Yet those 43 seconds overturned everything Kai believed about the forgotten network. Nothing that old should still be making decisions. The bridge lights reflected softly across the holographic star map, as everyone watched the glowing point continue its slow journey through the unexplored frontier. No one spoke. Finally, Commander Hale broke the silence. Can we follow it? Kai shook his head. Not even close. He highlighted the surrounding region. The nearest stable gateway ends nearly 2 months away using our current capabilities. Mason whistled quietly. 2 months. And that's assuming perfect logistics. Kai zoomed farther outward. Fuel, maintenance, food, replacement parts, medical supplies, safe docking. Every one of those becomes a problem before we ever reach it. The bridge became quiet again. Curiosity alone never shortened distances. The architect repair unit suddenly projected another layer across the map. Several forgotten trade corridors shimmered briefly before fading. Probability. Future route restoration may reduce travel time. Kai studied the projection. The paths did not lead directly toward the moving beacon. Instead, they connected dozens of forgotten colonies, abandoned maintenance stations, and dormant gateway infrastructure. He smiled slightly. The architects never built shortcuts. They built networks. Commander Hale nodded. So before reaching the destination, you rebuild the road, Kai quietly replied. Exactly. That realization somehow made the task feel possible. Not easy, merely possible. Later that day, Horizon departed Vera Station once again. The departure looked ordinary. No ceremony, no escort, no military observers. Only an old white cargo vessel slowly clearing the docking ring before rotating toward open space. Yet dock control quietly granted Horizon departure priority. No explanation accompanied the authorization. Administrator Rowan merely watched from the station's observation deck. His deputy looked confused. We've never given independent merchants departure priority. Rowan folded his hands behind his back. We didn't. The deputy frowned. Then why, the other captains voted. They, what? What? Voluntarily. Several larger cargo ships had quietly delayed their own departures by a few minutes. No complaints, no negotiations. Simply allowing Horizon to leave first. The deputy stared through the massive station window. They trust him already. Rowan slowly shook his head. No. They trust what he represents. Far below, Horizon disappeared into the darkness between stars. Deep inside the station marketplace, another consequence quietly unfolded. Merchant Captain Darius Kell, the same man who had refused Kai's first proposal days earlier, stood beside his loading manifest. His first officer approached. We've received a request. From who? Horizon. Darius smiled. Already? The officer nodded. They're looking for available refrigerated cargo space next week. The younger man hesitated. I thought we turned them and hesitated. I thought we turned them down. We did. So, Darius closed his datapad. We say yes. The officer looked confused. What changed? Darius watched Horizon's shrinking engine trail. They kept doing exactly what they promised. Reliable people eventually become reliable partners. The Frontier possessed a long memory. Meanwhile, aboard Horizon, Elias had already claimed one corner of engineering, as though he had worked there for years. Ancient maintenance manuals floated beside his worn metal toolbox. Modern diagnostic equipment surrounded him. He ignored almost all of it. Instead, he pressed one ear against an exposed architect power conduit. Juno laughed. "You can hear electricity?" Elias never looked up. "No. I can hear vibration. There." He tapped a section of the conduit. "Listen." Mason reluctantly leaned closer. At first, nothing. A faint rhythmic pulse. Nothing. A faint rhythmic pulse. Almost like breathing. The maintenance unit approached. Observation confirmed. Architect power conduits synchronize mechanically before synchronizing energetically. Juno blinked. "Why?" The dronin answered immediately. "Redundancy. If energy fails, structure." "Remembers." Elias looked impressed. "I've spent 40 years guessing. You just confirmed it." Kai quietly watched the exchange. Every day Horizon revealed another small piece of herself. Not weapons. Not impossible technology. Engineering philosophy. Redundancy. Longevity. Interconnection. The same principles repeated endlessly. Nothing existed alone. Every system strengthened another. The cosmic exchange system quietly appeared. Infrastructure insight recorded. Passive analysis efficiency increased. Kai dismissed the notification almost immediately. The rewards no longer surprised him. Understanding itself had become the reward. Several hours into the journey, Lyra entered the bridge carrying fresh sensor reports. "We've got something." Kai accepted the datapad. "Not an emergency, not pirates, trade statistics." He frowned. This region's shipping volume increased. Commander Hale glanced over. Because of the merchant meeting? Partly. Kai overlaid older traffic records. 3 independent routes now intersected where previously only one existed. Fuel shipments, agricultural equipment, medical supplies. Small increases individually, meaningful together. Juno smiled. "We're actually changing things." Kai looked through the panoramic viewport. Tiny engine signatures crossed distant space. Merchants who would never know his name. Colonists waiting for cargo. Children waiting for medicine. Factories waiting for replacement machinery. The changes were invisible to most people. Yet civilization quietly became stronger. Exactly one shipment at a time. The bridge communication panel chimed. An incoming transmission. Priority. Merchant Cooperative. Kai accepted. Director Ilera Moss appeared once more. Unlike their first conversation, exhaustion no longer dominated her expression. "Our grounded ships are operating again. I'm glad." She smiled. "So are 6 colonies." She activated several reports. Agricultural production recovering. Mining exports resumed. Medical deliveries back on schedule. Local food prices stabilizing. Employment rising. Kai studied the figures. 1 shipment of reactor coolant. 1 logistical decision. Thousands of lives affected indirectly. Ilara continued. "We owe you." Kai shook his head. "You owe the people who transported it, and they owe someone else." She laughed softly. "You're impossible." "No. I'm just following the route, before ending the transmission." She hesitated. "There is one more thing." Kai waited. "One of our cargo captains reported seeing an unusual vessel." His attention sharpened. "What kind?" "No identification. No active transponder. It never approached. It simply crossed there. Sensors before disappearing." She transmitted the sensor recording. The image quality remained poor, almost entirely distorted by interference. Yet one detail remained unmistakable. A faint line of golden light traced along the vessel's hull. Not painted. Integrated. The same living glow that flowed beneath Horizon's ancient alloy. No one on the bridge spoke. The recording lasted only 6 seconds. Then the unknown vessel vanished beyond sensor range. The maintenance unit quietly processed the file. Architect material composition, 92% probability. Mason slowly exhaled. So Horizon isn't the last one. No, Kai answered almost absent-mindedly. I don't think she ever almost absent-mindedly. I don't think she ever was. Far away, inside the hidden docking platform concealed within the asteroid field, the masked strategist watched another display. This one showed a single line. Observer Network Report. Architect signature confirmed. Second vessel detected. The masked figure remained perfectly still. After several long moments, a quiet voice finally emerged. So? They've seen each other. The subordinate looked confused. Should we move? The answer came without hesitation. No. Maintain observation. They're still following the roads. The figure reached toward an ancient star chart, unlike any modern navigation database. 3 faint golden roots slowly brightened. Not because someone activated them, because, one by one, people had begun traveling them again. And somewhere beyond every known frontier, the forgotten colony waited in complete silence. For the first time in centuries, its dormant orbital relay received 2 distant architect synchronization signals. Instead of ignoring them, the ancient station quietly acknowledged both. The acknowledgement arrived without sound. No alarm echoed across Horizon's bridge. No dramatic flash illuminated the ship. The confirmation appeared as a single line of golden architect script that neither Kai nor the crew had seen before. Architect synchronization complete. Dual beacon response confirmed. The message lingered for only 3 seconds before dissolving into thousands of shimmering particles. Silence settled across the bridge. Juno was the first to speak. I have absolutely no idea what that means. Neither did Kai. But unlike before, he no longer felt frustrated by unanswered questions. Every discovery seemed to reveal another layer beneath it. Commander Hale folded his arms. If 2 signals synchronized, there must be another transmitter. Kai nodded. Or another recipient. The architect repair unit processed quietly before answering. Insufficient archive data. Recommendation. Continue restoring infrastructure. Additional synchronization events will increase available records. Mason sighed dramatically. Everything comes back to fixing old equipment. The drone turned toward him. Correct. Everyone laughed. Even the machine had developed an unexpectedly dry sense of timing. The mood aboard Horizon had changed over the past several weeks. Not dramatically. Gradually, the corridors no longer felt abandoned. Soft white lighting now illuminated most primary passageways. Atmospheric systems operated smoothly. Gravity fluctuations had disappeared entirely. Hydroponic bays had begun producing the first small harvests of vegetables and oxygen-producing plants. Engineering still looked ancient, but it no longer looked neglected. It looked occupied. It looked alive. Elias moved through the reactor section carrying tools almost affectionately. Maintenance drones quietly accompanied him. Sometimes he instructed them. Sometimes they instructed him. Neither seemed bothered by the arrangement. Lyra stood inside hydroponics, recording growth statistics. The recovery rate increased another 6%. Kai glanced across the rows of green leaves swaying gently beneath artificial sunlight. It isn't much. It doesn't have to be, she smiled. Healthy systems grow. Healthy systems grow. Quietly. The words reminded him of everything happening beyond Horizon. Trade continued. Merchants kept traveling. Stations exchanged information. The network expanded without requiring his constant attention. Exactly as it should. The cosmic exchange system appeared. Network stability increased. Passive civilization growth detected. No reward claimed. Growth continuing. Kai appreciated that message more than most previous rewards. The system itself seemed pleased that the galaxy no longer depended entirely on him. That had always been the goal. Later that afternoon, Horizon received another scheduled communication from Administrator Rowan. His expression looked unusually relaxed. "I've got good news," Juno pointed dramatically. "Write this date down." Rowan started with good news. The administrator rolled his eyes. "I still have bad news." Balance restored. The bridge chuckled. Rowan enlarged several commercial reports. Independent shipping around Vera increased 18% this month. Kai studied the figures, higher than expected. The administrator continued. Docking requests increased. Repair contracts increased. Fuel sales increased. Insurance claims decreased. Commander Hale looked impressed. All because one route reopened? Rowan shook his head. No, because people believe another route might. Hope itself had become an economic force. Kai quietly stored that observation away. The galaxy rarely moved because of certainty. It moved because people believed tomorrow might be better than today. Rowan's expression became slightly more serious. Now for the bad news. Several unfamiliar symbols appeared on the display. Corporate shipping registrations. Large ones. The Frontier Development Consortium. Lyra frowned. "I've heard of them. So have I." Commander Hale's voice lost its usual warmth. "They don't invest. They acquire." Rowan nodded. "They've announced a major expansion toward frontier territory." Kai enlarged the projected routes. The proposed corridors overlapped several independent merchant lanes, including one recently strengthened through Horizon's assistance. Mason frowned. "Competition?" Commander Hale slowly shook his head. "No, replacement." The old commander pointed toward the projected map. "They'll undercut prices. Buy stations, purchase fuel depots, absorb repair docks. And when the independents disappear, they raise prices." Kai remained quiet. This wasn't piracy. It wasn't war. It was logistics, just on a much larger scale. Exactly the kind of opponent his own experience best understood. Rowan continued. "They'll arrive in approximately 4 months. Juno blinked. 4 months? Kai smiled faintly. "That's a long time." Commander Hale immediately understood. "In logistics? It's forever." Kai nodded. "They've announced their move, which means they're already committed. They can't easily change direction." He zoomed into the projected trade lanes. "If we strengthen independent infrastructure before they arrive, their acquisition becomes much more expensive." Lyra's eyes widened. "We compete before they even enter the market." Kai smiled. Preparation, not reaction. The bridge gradually became animated. Mason began listing repair stations needing upgrades. Lyra identified colonies requiring supply agreements. Juno volunteered to organize merchant communications schedules. Commander Hale quietly watched the younger crew finding solutions instead of panicking. The old soldier smiled to himself. Weeks ago, they would have discussed surviving. Today, they discussed shaping the future. Far beyond Vera, another quiet story unfolded. The merchant captain whose freighter Horizon had rescued finally reached his destination. A small mining colony built into the side of an enormous asteroid. Children ran through narrow corridors as cargo containers unloaded. Medical supplies, replacement machinery, food, reactor coolant. The colony governor personally greeted the exhausted captain. "You made it." "Barely." The governor frowned. "We heard your engines failed." "They did." "So how?" The captain smiled. "A strange old ship. White hull. Golden lights. They fixed XTU." "Us." The governor looked thoughtful. "Horizon? You've heard of them?" The governor laughed softly. 3 other captains mentioned them this week. The merchant froze. "Already?" The governor nodded. "They're becoming a story. Nearby. Nearby." A little girl listened while hugging a small maintenance drone, almost as large as herself. She quietly asked, "Are they heroes?" The adults looked at one another. "Finally," the merchant answered, "No. They're the people who show up before heroes become necessary." The little girl smiled. "I want to work on ships someday." The governor gently placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then maybe you'll meet them." Thousands of Kilometers away inside the colony's communications center, an operator filed another routine report. Civilian assistance record, unknown merchant vessel, Horizon, recommendation, trusted contact. The report quietly entered the Frontier database. Another tiny connection. Another thread woven into an invisible network. Meanwhile, inside the concealed observation facility, the masked strategist examined dozens of similar reports, arriving from across Frontier space. Each report alone meant almost nothing. Together, they formed a pattern. The subordinate frowned. They're building influence. The masked figure corrected calmly. No, they're becoming infrastructure. A pause followed, which is considerably more dangerous. Another screen activated, not showing Horizon, showing people, merchants, engineers, colony administrators, dock workers, independent navigators, one by one. Their names illuminated. None had pledged loyalty. None had signed agreements. Yet all had begun making small decisions that favored Horizon. Quietly, naturally, without being asked. The masked figure watched the expanding web. They don't understand. The subordinate hesitated. Who? The core worlds. They believe civilization belongs to governments. The figure slowly reached toward the growing network. But civilization has always belonged to the people who keep everything connected. At that exact moment, somewhere beyond every recorded star chart, inside the forgotten colony that had waited in silence for centuries, another dormant structure awakened. Not the orbital relay, not the gateway. Something much deeper beneath the planet's surface, an enormous chamber slowly filled with pale golden light. Ancient mechanisms moved for the first time in ages. Stone-like alloy separated with almost imperceptible precision. Dust drifted upward. Within the vast darkness, hundreds of inactive Architect drones remained perfectly motionless. Except one. Its optic sensor slowly ignited with soft gold. It looked toward the ceiling. Then, for the first time in centuries, it took a single step. The Architect drone moved a second time. Not aboard Horizon, not within the forgotten colony, but inside the minds of those watching the synchronized transmission. The recording lasted barely 4 seconds before fading into static, yet every movement carried an unsettling precision. The dormant machine had not stumbled after centuries of inactivity. It had not tested damaged servos or recalibrated unstable balance. It had simply awakened. The bridge remained silent. Juno finally exhaled. I've seen military robots restart after storage. Kai looked toward her. They don't move like that. No, they move like old machines. Commander Hale nodded slowly. That one moved like someone who never forgot. That one moved like someone who never forgot. Observation lingered in the air. The maintenance unit quietly completed another analysis. Motion profile comparison. No modern manufacturing equivalent located. Kai dismissed the report. There still wasn't enough information. Speculation accomplished nothing. Facts built decisions. Archive everything. The drone acknowledged immediately. Data secured. Kai looked once more at the fading image before closing the display. Until we understand what we're looking at. It changes nothing. Juno smiled. That's either incredibly disciplined or incredibly stubborn. Kai answered without looking away from the stars. Both. Several days passed peacefully. For Horizon, peace meant work. Cargo moved through the refurbished loading bays almost continuously. Engineers inspected structural conduits. Maintenance drones replaced damaged relay nodes hidden behind ancient bulkheads. Lyra reorganized inventory databases, while Mason somehow managed to argue with 3 different repair drones over the correct location of spare reactor couplings. One drone calmly projected a schematic. Storage Bay 4. Mason crossed his arms. They've always been in Bay 3. The drone projected another schematic. They were relocated yesterday. I didn't approve that. You requested optimization. We requested optimization. Requested organization. Optimization achieved. Juno walked past carrying supply crates. I think the drone won. Mason looked offended. It keeps winning. Elias laughed loudly from engineering. Congratulations, you've officially started the arguing with the ship. I'm arguing with the maintenance unit. The difference gets smaller every day. The atmosphere aboard Horizon continued changing. People joked. People disagreed. People worked. For the first time, the vessel no longer felt like borrowed shelter. It felt like home. Deep inside engineering, Elias called Kai over. I found something. Kai crouched beside an exposed architect conduit. Instead of damaged components, Elias pointed toward a thin, metallic line embedded inside the alloy. Look carefully. At first, Kai saw nothing unusual. Then, the light shifted. Thousands of microscopic symbols appeared beneath the polished surface. Not engraved, integrated. They're beautiful. They're instructions. Elias gently tapped the conduit. I've been tracing these marks. They're everywhere. Kai followed the line with his eyes. The microscopic symbols disappeared into the walls, across the ceiling, beneath the deck. They're part of the ship. Elias nodded. I don't think Horizon was assembled. I think she was grown. The sentence caught everyone nearby. Lyra looked up from her datapad. Grown? Elias shrugged. I don't have a better word. The material changes continuously. It repairs itself. It remembers stress. It reorganizes power flow. He looked around engineering. Modern ships are... He looked around engineering. Built. Horizon behaves more like a living organism. The architect repair unit spoke quietly. Historical comparison. Acceptable. No one spoke for several moments. Kai looked around engineering with new eyes. Pipes. Conduits. Support structures. None appeared separate anymore. Everything flowed together like veins carrying energy through a living body. The cosmic exchange system appeared. Infrastructure understanding increased. Synchronization rate improved. Dormant internal connections available. Kai selected the notification. A holographic diagram unfolded inside Horizon. Several dormant internal pathways illuminated. Not weapons, not hidden engines. Maintenance corridors. Automated cargo transfer rails. Emergency power balancing systems. Small improvements. Yet each reduced workload across the entire vessel. Kai smiled. This is exactly where we start. Commander Hale raised an eyebrow. No weapons? Kai shook his head. If the ship runs better, everything else improves. No one argued. Elsewhere, life across the frontier continued without waiting for Horizon. On Vera Station, independent merchants gathered around a public logistics board. Instead of competing over docking windows, they quietly rearranged schedules among themselves. One captain stepped aside. You've got medical cargo. You go first, another answered. I'll take the afternoon slot. No station official instructed them. No regulation required cooperation. It had simply become normal. Administrator Rowan watched from an upper balcony. His deputy smiled. I've never seen them behave like this. Rowan nodded. Neither have I. The deputy hesitated. Should we formalize it? Rowan considered the question. Then slowly shook his head. Not yet. If we regulate trust too early, people stop giving it freely. Far away. Aboard a corporate survey vessel belonging to the Frontier Development Consortium, another meeting unfolded. Executives studied commercial reports projected above a polished conference table. One analyst frowned. Independent shipping efficiency has increased. Another enlarged Frontier statistics. Several stations now share logistics voluntarily. The room remained quiet. Finally, a woman seated at the head of the table spoke. Director Zelena Voss. Her uniform carried no military insignia. Only the subtle silver emblem of the consortium. Cause? The analysts exchanged uncertain looks. One independent cargo vessel. Silence. Name? Horizon. Another report appeared. Merchant recommendations. Shared infrastructure. Repair assistance. Emergency logistics. No military victories. No political influence. Only cooperation. Director Voss studied the reports carefully, then asked a question that surprised everyone. How many people trust them? The analysts looked confused. We don't have a measurement for trust. Create one. The room immediately became silent. Voss continued calmly. Cargo follows profit. But infrastructure follows trust. If they control trust, they eventually influence trade. She closed the report. I don't underestimate infrastructure. Her decision was immediate. Observe. Horizon. Do not interfere. Not yet. Back aboard Horizon, evening settled peacefully. The crew gathered in the small dining compartment. The meal was simple. Fresh vegetables from hydroponics. Protein stew. Fresh bread produced from recycled nutrient cultures. Nothing luxurious. Everything tasted earned. Juno looked around the table. We should probably celebrate. Mason laughed. What exactly? We survived another week. Commander Hale raised his cup. I've celebrated less. Everyone joined him. Even the maintenance unit rolled quietly into the room. Juno pointed. See? Even it came. The drone answered without hesitation. Meal observation improves crew cohesion. Mason grinned. So you're spying. Correct. Laughter filled the compartment. Kai watched everyone for a moment before looking through the nearby viewport. Beyond the reinforced glass, stars stretched endlessly across the darkness. The galaxy remained unimaginably large. Most of it still knew nothing about Horizon. And that was perfectly fine. Civilizations were never connected all at once, only one route, one shipment, one person at a time. At that same moment, deep beneath the forgotten colony, the awakened architect drone stopped before an immense circular chamber sealed by concentric rings of ancient alloy. It raised one hand. Golden light spread across the massive door. Not opening it, testing it, evaluating it. The chamber answered with a single pulse. Across thousands of light years, every synchronized beacon responded, including the one aboard Horizon. The bridge lights flickered only once. The maintenance unit immediately looked toward the ceiling. Its normally calm voice carried the slightest hint of uncertainty. Captain, Kai turned. What happened? The drone remained motionless for several seconds before replying. The network. It paused. Has begun asking for authorization. The question echoed through Horizon long after the words themselves disappeared. The network has begun asking for authorization. Kai looked at the maintenance unit. Authorization for what? The drone remained motionless. I do not possess sufficient privileges to determine intent. The bridge lights returned to normal. Every diagnostic display reported stable systems. No unauthorized access. No power fluctuations. No security breach. Only one anomaly remained. The architect's synchronization signal continued waiting. Not transmitting. Not expanding. Waiting. Juno slowly approached the central console. Can we answer it? Kai immediately shook his head. We don't answer questions we don't understand. Commander Hale nodded approvingly. Good. Curiosity has buried more captains than enemy fleets. Kai, enlarge the system report. The authorization request originated from no identifiable location. Instead, it appeared simultaneously across every synchronized architect component aboard Horizon. Power distribution, navigation core, maintenance lattice, internal data conduits. Every subsystem quietly acknowledged the request. None acted upon it. As though the ship itself were waiting for permission from its captain. Kai reached toward the console, not to approve, to observe. The cosmic exchange system immediately unfolded. Warning, incomplete information, recommended action, gather additional context before committing. Kai smiled faintly. The system agrees. Juno leaned against the navigation table. First time I've ever seen your mysterious helper tell you not to do something. It didn't. It told me to learn first. That difference mattered. The system had never solved problems for him. It simply rewarded careful judgment. Several hours later, Horizon entered a scheduled maintenance orbit around a small independent refueling platform. The station barely appeared on official maps. 3 docking arms, 1 rotating habitation ring, 2 aging fuel storage tanks. Nothing impressive. Exactly the kind of place Horizon frequently visited. As docking clamps secured the ship, the station's owner personally greeted them. An elderly woman wearing grease-stained coveralls stepped confidently onto Horizon's cargo deck. Elias, the engineer, looked up. Mira. Without another word. The two embraced before immediately beginning an argument. You still hold your welding torch wrong. You still refuse to replace your antique tools. They still work. They're older than you. Kai watched with amusement. Juno whispered, I think they're friends. I think they've been arguing for decades. Mira noticed the others. So, you're Kai. He nodded politely. She studied him carefully. Smaller than I expected. Mason laughed. Everyone says that. They expect heroes to be taller. Mira snorted. Heroes break things. I hear you fix them. Kai smiled. I try. She looked around Horizon with obvious curiosity. I've been hearing stories. The white cargo ship. The impossible repairs. The merchant network. She gently rested one hand against Horizon's inner hull. Beautiful workmanship. Elias nodded proudly. Isn't she? Kai quietly noticed. Something. Every experienced engineer reacted the same way to Horizon. Respect. Not fear. Not greed. Respect. Mira spent the next hour inspecting portions of engineering alongside Elias. Occasionally they disagreed. Often they laughed. Several maintenance drones quietly followed them, recording every observation. Finally, Mira approached Kai. I've got something you should see. She projected several decades of station maintenance logs. Most appeared ordinary, routine repairs. Fuel deliveries, equipment replacements. Then she highlighted one recurring anomaly. Every 17 years. Exactly. Without exception. Unknown cargo vessels appeared briefly within long-range sensors. Never docking. Never transmitting. Always following the same trajectory. Kai immediately recognized the pattern. The moving beacon. How long have you had these records? 34 years. And no one investigated. Mira shrugged. They vanished before anyone arrived. No one thought they mattered. Kai enlarged the trajectories. Each crossing point lay astonishingly close to forgotten architect infrastructure. Not directly. Close enough. Almost as though someone intentionally avoided being seen while remaining connected to the ancient network. Commander Hale studied the map. They've been moving for decades. Longer. Mira quietly corrected him. I only have 34 years of records. The implication settled heavily across the room. Someone, or something, had maintained those routes for generations, without governments noticing, without corporations interfering, without history recording them. Kai copied every sensor log, not because they solved anything, because patterns required time, and time had finally begun accumulating. Far away, aboard a consortium logistics headquarters, orbiting a prosperous core world colony, Director Zelena Voss received another intelligence update. Horizon continues strengthening regional cooperation. Estimated influence? The analyst hesitated. Economically? No. Socially. The room became quiet. Finally, another analyst answered. We cannot accurately quantify that. Celine nodded once, then built a model. She walked toward the panoramic viewport overlooking hundreds of commercial freighters entering synchronized docking lanes. Trade flows through. Infrastructure. She spoke almost to herself. Infrastructure flows through trust. If someone begins controlling trust, they eventually reshape markets. She turned back toward the analysts. I want every frontier recommendation involving Horizon. Every repair. Every favor. Every merchant interaction. One analyst looked confused. Those aren't strategic assets. Salim smiled slightly. They become strategic. After enough people remember them. Back aboard Horizon. Back aboard Horizon. Evening settled once again. Instead of returning immediately to work, Kai wandered quietly through the ship. Engineering. Cargo bays. Hydroponics. Crew quarters. Bridge. Every section felt subtly different than when he first found the ancient vessel. Cleaner. Warmer. Occupied. Life had returned. The architect repair unit silently accompanied him. Captain. Kai looked toward the drone. What is it? You have not asked an important question. He stopped walking. What question? The drone projected Horizon's internal network. Thousands of dormant pathways remained dark. Only a small percentage glowed with active energy. You continue asking what this ship can become. The projection shifted, instead displaying ancient logistics routes stretching across the forgotten galaxy. You have not asked what this ship was. Kai remained silent. The distinction struck him immediately. Everyone had assumed Horizon was merely an old cargo vessel. No one had ever questioned its original purpose. Not truly. Cargo, maintenance, infrastructure, connection. Every clue pointed towards something much larger. Before Kai could answer, the bridge alarms chimed softly. Not danger. Incoming communication. Priority classification. Unknown. The transmission contained no visual signal. Only a single sentence spoken by an unfamiliar voice. Calm, ancient, almost impossibly clear. If Horizon still sails, then tell me. A pause. Does anyone still remember why we built the roads? The transmission ended before anyone could respond. No origin. No traceable route. Only silence. For several long seconds, nobody aboard Horizon moved. Then, somewhere deep inside the ship, an ancient mechanism that had remained dormant since before recorded history quietly unlocked. The unlocked mechanism did not open a door. It changed the sound of the ship. At first, no one noticed. The bridge still hummed with its usual low vibration. Consoles continued glowing in soft white and gold. The distant stars outside the viewport remained motionless in the dark. Then Elias lifted his head inside engineering. Stop talking. Mason froze with a half-open toolkit in his hands. I wasn't talking. Elias raised one finger. Exactly. The old engineer stepped away from the reactor casing and placed his palm against the nearest bulkhead. A faint rhythm traveled through the ancient alloy. Slow, deep, measured, not like an engine, not like power flow, like something immense turning over in its sleep. On the bridge, Kai felt it a moment later through the soles of his boots. Horizon was not shaking. She was remembering. The architect repair unit rolled to the center of the bridge without being called. Captain. Kai looked at it. Report. Previously sealed internal structure has entered partial activation. Location? Deck 12. Juno blinked. We have a deck. Juno blinked. 12? Commander Hale answered before the drone could. According to the old schematics, Horizon has 9 decks. The repair unit remained silent for 2 seconds. Correction. Modern accessible decks, 9. Total original decks, 9. Unknown. Mason's voice came through the internal comms from engineering. That's not comforting. Juno pointed toward the floor. So this ship has hidden floors. Kai studied the internal map. For the first time, Horizon's schematic expanded beyond its known structure. Beneath Deck 9, where every previous scan had shown solid reinforcement, a new line of golden geometry unfolded. A vertical shaft. A sealed passage. A ring-shaped chamber. No weapon signature. No reactor core. No cargo hold. Just one label slowly translating through the system. Memory Transit Archive. The words settled over the bridge like a challenge. Kai did not move immediately. Juno noticed. You're thinking. I am. Is this the kind of thinking where we explore a mysterious hidden deck? No. She looked surprised. It's the kind where we make sure exploring it doesn't kill us first. Commander Hale smiled faintly. Good answer. The maintenance unit projected a safety overlay. Atmospheric condition below Deck 9. Stable. Radiation. Negligible. Power activity. Increasing. Security response. Unknown. Kai focused on the last line. Unknown security response. Correct. Juno sighed. Ancient memory archive hidden inside our ship. Responding to a voice from nowhere, with unknown security, she lifted one hand. Just another normal day on horizon. Kai looked toward Hale. Minimum team. Hale nodded. Kai, myself, Juno. The repair unit. Mason immediately protested over comms. I heard that. You're staying in engineering. Why? Because if we trigger something stupid, I want someone alive who knows which part of the ship is screaming. There was a pause. That's annoyingly reasonable. Lyra's voice joined quietly. I'll monitor from the bridge. Kai nodded. Keep a full record. If anything changes, lock access behind us. Juno stared. Behind us? If something below Deck 9 wants to move upward, it waits. Her smile faded slightly. Right. Preparation took 27 minutes. Not because the distance was far. Because Kai refused to treat mystery as permission to be careless. Emergency oxygen, manual lights, signal tethers, portable door sealers, a repaired drone escort. Hale checked every weapon twice, though he kept the rifle slung rather than raised. Juno wore a maintenance harness, and muttered insults at ancient ship design while tightening the straps. Kai carried no weapon beyond a sidearm he barely intended to use. His real tools were a datapad, a root interface, and the habit of assuming every path mattered. The entrance appeared in a corridor they had walked through dozens of times. That made it more unsettling. One moment, the wall behind an inactive maintenance alcove was plain white architect alloy. The next, golden lines spread across it in a circular pattern. The alloy separated silently. No grinding, no dust, no dramatic collapse. It simply recognized that a passage should exist again. Cold air flowed from the darkness beyond. Juno leaned closer. Smells old. Elias's voice crackled through the comms. Old things deserve respect. Juno glanced upward. Are you listening to everything? Yes, of course you are. Kai stepped forward. The passage sloped downward in a gentle spiral. Soft golden lights awakened one by one along the floor. Not ahead of them all at once, but just before their boots touched each section. As if the ship was guiding them carefully, or measuring them. The walls were smooth and uninterrupted except for thousands of microscopic lines that curved like star roots across the alloy. Kai's portable scanner struggled to interpret the pattern. Not decoration, not language exactly. More like navigation embedded into architecture. Hale's voice remained low. No dust. Kai noticed too. A sealed space untouched for centuries should have been dead. This place felt preserved. Juno looked back at the closing wall behind them. Please tell me that opens again. It will. That didn't sound certain. It sounded confident. Same problem. They descended for almost 5 minutes. The deeper they went, the quieter horizon became. No engine hum, no ventilation noise, no distant crew activity, only their footsteps and the soft rolling movement of the architect repair unit. Finally, the passage opened into a circular chamber. It was vast, far larger than should have fit within Horizon's hull. The ceiling rose into darkness, where golden lines formed a rotating star map. The floor was made of translucent alloy, and beneath it flowed streams of pale light like rivers beneath ice. Around the chamber stood dozens of empty alcoves. Each alcove was shaped for something tall and narrow. Not storage containers. Not people. Drones. Hale noticed immediately. Maintenance bay? The repair unit moved forward. Negative. Its voice softened slightly. Memory carrier dock. Kai looked at it. Memory carrier? The drone did not answer right away. Instead, one empty alcove illuminated. A projection unfolded above it. Not a clear recording. Fragments. A white ship passing through a golden gateway. A colony beneath a red sun. A line of civilian transports moving in perfect silence. Architect drones repairing a bridge between two orbital rings. Children standing behind transparent walls, watching cargo ships arrive, then static. The projection vanished. Juno whispered, "This isn't a database." Kai slowly nodded. "It's a witness room." The chamber lights brightened. One by one, more alcoves awakened. Each displayed broken memories. Ships, stations, gateways, colonies, evacuations. Harvest festivals beneath artificial skies. Convoys returning home. Hands touching glass as vessels departed. 1,000 fragments of civilizations that modern history had forgotten. No battles dominated the archive. No grand imperial banners. No heroes standing atop ruins. Only movement, arrival, departure, return. Kai walked slowly through the chamber. The old architect doctrine returned to him. The strength of a gateway is measured not by how many pass through it, but by how many return. Now he understood a little more. The architects had not recorded conquest as their legacy. They had recorded continuity. Lives connected. Homes sustained. Roots maintained long enough for children to grow up believing arrival was normal. Juno stopped before one projection, a colony market under a glass dome. People laughing. Vendors exchanging goods. Small drones floating between stalls. For some reason, the image made her expression soften. They were normal. Kai looked at her. The architects? No. The people who depended on them. That struck harder than any ancient revelation. Mystery made civilizations feel distant. Ordinary life made them real. Hale stood before another projection, showing a convoy passing through a gateway, as a storm of charged particles gathered behind it. Evacuation. Kai moved beside him. The projection flickered. Civilian ships. Emergency traffic. A damaged gateway. Maintenance drones sacrificing themselves to stabilize the ring long enough for the final transport to pass. Then, darkness. Hale's jaw tightened. Soldiers get statues for less. The repair unit remained motionless before the same image. Its optic glowed faintly. Operational sacrifice confirmed. Juno looked at it. Did you know them? The drone paused. Memory continuity incomplete. A softer answer followed. But I recognized the duty. Silence filled the chamber. Then the cosmic exchange system appeared. Memory transit archive accessed. Historical context increased. Architect doctrine fragment recovered. New understanding available. Kai did not select it immediately. He looked around instead. The archive wasn't asking to be consumed. It deserved attention. After several minutes, he opened the new understanding. A single sentence appeared. Architect networks were not designed to expand civilization endlessly. They were designed to prevent civilization from becoming unreachable. Kai read the line twice. Then, a third time. That was the difference. Expansion sought more. Connection ensured no one was left behind. A soft chime echoed from the far side of the chamber. One alcove remained dark. Unlike the others, it was not empty. Something rested inside. A narrow black gold core, suspended upright within a transparent field. The moment Kai looked at it, every light in the chamber dimmed. The repair unit rolled forward. "Captain," Kai already understood from its tone. "What is it?" "Memory carrier intact." Juno swallowed. "Is that good?" The drone answered carefully. "Unknown." Kai approached slowly. Text appeared across the transparent field. "Manual authorization required. Captain authority recognized. Secondary network confirmation required." Hale frowned. "Secondary confirmation?" The chamber ceiling shifted. The star map rearranged into 3 golden points. Horizon. The moving beacon. The forgotten colony. Threads of light connected them. Then the same ancient voice from before returned, not through the comms. Through the chamber itself. If Horizon still sails, then someone must answer. Kai did not respond immediately. He looked at the memory carrier, then at the 3 golden points, then at his crew. This was exactly the kind of moment stories turned into destiny. A voice from the past, a hidden archive. A captain standing before ancient technology, but Kai was not interested in destiny. He was interested in consequences. What happens if I authorize it? The chamber did not answer. The cosmic exchange system did. Warning. Authorization may restore partial memory exchange between synchronized nodes. Potential benefits. Root, archive recovery. Historical context. Juno stepped closer. That sounds like a polite way of saying we might wake up things we don't understand. Yes. Hale looked at Kai. Your call. Kai's fingers hovered near the authorization field. Every instinct of curiosity urged him forward. Every habit of survival held him back. He imagined forgotten colonies receiving a signal they had waited centuries for. He imagined dormant machines waking without oversight. He imagined corporations detecting ancient infrastructure activation. He imagined someone on the other side of the network realizing Horizon had a captain again. A route was never just a path. It was permission for consequences to travel both ways. Kai lowered his hand. Not yet. The chamber remained silent. Juno released a breath she had been holding. The repair unit tilted its head. Decision acknowledged. Hale smiled faintly. Good. Kai turned away from the memory carrier. We gather more context first. We identify the external nodes. We strengthen Horizon. We prepare fallback. Protocols. Then we decide. The cosmic exchange system pulsed. Strategic restraint recorded. Connection preservation priority confirmed. Reward deferred. Kai almost smiled. Even the system seemed willing to wait. As they left the chamber, one projection flickered back to life behind them. None of them noticed. It showed a fleet of civilian ships surrounding a planet at the edge of darkness. Beneath them, a gateway ring burned with unstable gold. On the planet's surface, thousands of lights blinked in desperation. The projection distorted. For half a second a name appeared, not translated fully, only partially. Aurelian Refuge. Then the archive went dark again. Far beyond the frontier, deep beneath the forgotten colony, the awakened architect drone stood before the sealed circular chamber and paused. The authorization had not come. For several long seconds it remained motionless. Then it lowered its hand. The sealed door stayed closed, but the drone turned toward another corridor, not angry, not confused, simply adapting. A command passed silently through the buried facility. Do not force restoration. Prepare reception. Across the forgotten colony, dormant lights began awakening one district at a time. Not enough to reveal the whole world, not enough to save it, only enough to wait properly. And in orbit above that silent planet, the ancient relay sent one final message into the dark. Not to Horizon alone. To every surviving fragment of the network. Captain Authority detected. Response delayed. Prepare for return. The message reached places no civilization remembered. Not through ordinary communication arrays. Not through quantum relay stations. Not even through the surviving gateway network. It traveled through something older. A promise. Across forgotten worlds, silent architect relays awakened one after another. Each activation remained small. A single light. A single pulse. Enough to acknowledge. Not enough to reveal. Deep beneath abandoned stations swallowed by centuries of dust, dormant processors quietly verified one line. Captain Authority detected. Response delayed. Prepare for return. Then they fell silent once more. None attempted contact. None ignored the message. They simply waited. That, Kai would later realize, had always been the architect's greatest strength. Patience. Morning aboard Horizon began as every productive morning should, with work. Cargo manifests floated above the bridge while Lyra compared incoming contracts against fuel reserves and projected maintenance requirements. 3 deliveries. She enlarged the display. Medical supplies to Argent Relay. Atmospheric processors for 4. The Kestrel agricultural settlements. And replacement reactor pumps for Port Ilia. Commander Hale studied the routes. No overlap. Kai zoomed farther out. There is now. He highlighted several independent merchant schedules already traveling. Similar corridors. If we coordinate departure windows, everyone burns less fuel. Lyra immediately understood. I'll contact them. Juno smiled. Still solving problems with paperwork. Kai shrugged. Paperwork moves more cargo than cannons. Mason's voice echoed over engineering comms. And paperwork never explodes, Elias answered before anyone else. Depends who's filing it. Laughter quietly spread across the bridge. Small moments like these had become common aboard Horizon. The crew no longer acted like survivors. They acted like colleagues. Several hours later, Horizon departed Vera Station alongside 4 civilian freighters. None belonged to Kai. None answered to him. Yet every captain voluntarily synchronized departure times. The result became obvious almost immediately. Navigation queues shortened. Gateway alignment stabilized. Fuel corrections decreased. Even local traffic controllers sounded surprised. Vera Control transmitted calmly. Joint departure acknowledged. Transit efficiency improved by 12%. One merchant captain laughed over open communications. 12% for changing our clocks. Another replied, Imagine that. Kai. Imagine that. Kai. Quietly archived the data. 12%. Small numbers built civilizations. Far away, those same departure statistics arrived inside the Frontier Development Consortium. Director Celine Voss reviewed the report in silence. Her assistant looked unconvinced. They're only coordinating schedules. Celine closed the file. No, they're changing behavior. She stood before another projection displaying hundreds of inter-commercial routes. Infrastructure isn't built with steel. Her finger traced the growing Frontier network. It's built with expectations. When merchants expect cooperation, they stop planning for conflict. The assistant frowned. Is that dangerous? It depends. Dangerous for whom? Meanwhile, aboard Horizon, the Cosmic Exchange System quietly issued another notification. Regional logistics efficiency increased. Exchange credits awarded. Route trust expanded. Potential exchange opportunities available. Kai ignored the reward for now. Instead, he selected the new logistics report. Unexpectedly, it highlighted something strange. One merchant convoy had changed course, not away from Horizon, toward it. Juno noticed immediately. Someone's intercepting us. Commander Hale's posture stiffened. Combat formation? Kai examined the telemetry. No. Look. The vessel deliberately reduced speed before entering communication range. No weapon signatures. No targeting locks. No electronic interference. Only a request. Incoming civilian transmission. Kai accepted. An elderly captain appeared. His weathered face filled the display. Behind him stood dozens of ordinary crew members. No uniforms. No soldiers. Only workers. The captain smiled. I finally found you. Kai nodded politely. What can I do for you? The man laughed. Nothing. He held up a sealed data crystal. I came to return something. Silence settled across the bridge. Return 43 years ago. Someone from Horizon helped us. The bridge became perfectly still. The old captain continued. My father always said, if the white cargo ship ever returns, give this back. No one spoke. Kai looked at the crystal. I don't understand. Neither did my father. He only told me it belonged to people who built roads instead of kingdoms. The sentence struck every member of the crew. Juno slowly looked toward Kai. He remained calm. But inside, countless connections began forming. The captain smiled sadly. I never expected to see Horizon again. I honestly thought it was just an old family story. He extended the crystal toward the camera. "We've carried this through 3 generations. My grandchildren know about it. Not because they know what's inside, but because promises matter," Kai answered quietly. "They do." The transfer drone crossed between the 2 ships. Minutes later, the small crystal rested inside Horizon's bridge. No markings. No obvious technology. Only polished black material threaded with faint golden veins. The architect repair unit approached immediately. Its optic brightened. Recognition confirmed. Juno looked over. "You know what it is?" The drone answered after a pause. "No. I remember carrying one." The silence afterward felt heavier than before. The drone had not recalled information. It had recalled experience. Another missing piece. Kai did not activate the crystal immediately. Instead, he asked the old captain one final question. "Why did your family keep it for so long?" The elderly merchant smiled. "Because someone once saved our colony, without asking for anything. We couldn't repay them. So we protected the only thing they left behind." The transmission ended. The civilian convoy slowly accelerated away. No celebration. No dramatic farewell. Only ordinary people continuing ordinary work. Yet the atmosphere aboard Horizon had changed. Not because they had discovered powerful technology, because Horizon's influence clearly stretched farther into history than anyone had imagined. Lyra quietly broke the silence. "We're inheriting trust." Kai nodded. "Yes, and trust takes longer to build than ships." Much later that evening, Kai finally carried the crystal into the memory transit archive. The chamber recognized it instantly. Golden pathways illuminated across the floor. The empty alcoves brightened one by one. The memory carrier suspended in the central field emitted a soft pulse. The black crystal floated gently from Kai's hands. Without touching anything, it aligned itself before the transparent field. The chamber spoke. Not with words, with light. Images flowed through the air. Architect engineers, merchant captains, civilian builders, children planting trees beside newly completed gateway stations, workers celebrating the opening of supply corridors. No emperors, no admirals, no conquerors, only people, building, repairing. Then one image remained. A young architect-engineer placed the same crystal into the hands of a frightened human child. The engineer smiled warmly. "When the roads disappear, return this to the people who rebuild them." The image dissolved. No names, no explanation. Only faith placed across centuries. Kai stood quietly before the fading light. The cosmic exchange system appeared once more. Hidden legacy confirmed. Historical trust recognized. New passive authority unlocked. Builder's reputation. Effect. Individuals who inherit or preserve architect logistical traditions are significantly more likely to cooperate before negotiating profit. Kai slowly dismissed the notification. It wasn't power. It wasn't a weapon. It wasn't even technology. It was reputation carried across generations. Perhaps that was worth even more. Suddenly, the chamber darkened, not because something had failed, because another signal had arrived. This one did not come from the forgotten colony, nor from the moving beacon. It came from somewhere much farther away. A 4th point slowly appeared on the holographic network. Beyond every known frontier chart, beyond explored space, beyond the mapped gateway lattice. The repair unit looked upward. Its voice became almost inaudible. Additional synchronized node. The star map expanded. The star map expanded. 3 points became 4. Then thin golden routes began calculating paths between them. One route remained incomplete. Across the darkness, countless possible trajectories flickered before disappearing again. The system displayed only one conclusion. Destination exists. Route forgotten. Somewhere in the endless galaxy, another survivor of the ancient network had finally answered Horizon's return. But unlike the others, this one was moving. Beyond the frontier, where official star charts dissolved into uncertain darkness, something crossed the ancient routes. Not quickly, not aggressively, purposefully. The fourth synchronized node did not remain fixed like the forgotten colony. Nor did it drift according to predictable orbital mechanics. It traveled. Every several hours, Horizon's newly awakened memory transit archive quietly recalculated its position. Every calculation ended with the same conclusion. Trajectory unknown. Destination unknown. Pattern consistent. On the bridge, Lyra enlarged the holographic projection for the 5th time. It isn't wandering. Kai nodded. No, it's following something. Commander Hale folded his arms. Or someone. The possibility remained uncomfortably plausible. Kai saved another positional update before closing the display. We still don't chase mysteries. Juno smiled, but we can definitely watch them. Exactly. The following week became unexpectedly busy. Word of Horizon's coordinated logistics continued spreading throughout the frontier. Requests arrived almost daily. Fuel redistribution, medical transport, emergency navigation, repair consultation. Most were ordinary. None made headlines. Kai accepted only those Horizon could realistically support. When Mason questioned another rejected contract, Kai answered simply, "If we promise everything, eventually we fail everyone." Lyra quietly marked the rejected request. "I'll recommend another trusted carrier." Kai nodded. No one should leave empty-handed. Even when Horizon could not help directly, Kai made certain someone else could. It slowly became another habit. Not every route needed to pass through Horizon. The network mattered more than the ship. That philosophy reached Vera Station before the crew realized it. Administrator Rowan stood before the Public Logistics Board with quiet satisfaction. The display had changed dramatically. Instead of isolated cargo listings, merchants now voluntarily linked compatible shipments together. Fuel pooling, escort sharing, emergency reserve exchanges, no government regulation, no mandatory directive, just people learning cooperation was profitable. Rowan's deputy smiled. They started doing it themselves. Rowan nodded. The best infrastructure eventually becomes invisible. Not everyone welcomed the change. Several systems away, inside a private conference room aboard a corporate orbital habitat, representatives from 3 competing freight companies reviewed declining profit margins. One executive slammed a datapad onto the table. Independent cooperation is undercutting premium logistics contracts. Another enlarged frontier traffic analysis. They're bypassing brokerage fees. They're sharing idle cargo space. Optimizing routes without us. Silence settled across the room. Finally, one representative looked toward the oldest executive present. "What do you recommend?" The elderly man remained calm. Nothing. Several executives stared. Nothing. If cooperation is genuine, attacking it only proves them right. Another executive frowned. "So we surrender market share?" The old man slowly shook his head. "No, we compete. But honestly." The room became quiet. Even among corporations, some still understood that trust could not simply be purchased. Back aboard Horizon, Elias called everyone into engineering. "I've finished another section." The engineer proudly stepped aside. Rows of newly restored automated cargo rails extended through the lower decks. Unlike modern conveyor systems, these moved silently using concealed architect field technology. Mason placed a heavy reactor casing onto one platform. The platform glided away without vibration. His eyebrows rose. "I carried this yesterday. It carried itself today." Elias grinned. "Now imagine 50 of them." Juno laughed. "I'm beginning to think Horizon enjoys showing off." The architect repair unit responded immediately. Efficiency increase. Crew fatigue reduction. Cargo handling capacity increased by 18%. Mason looked toward Kai. "See, your ship keeps giving us presents." Kai shook his head. "No, we're earning them. That distinction mattered. We're earning them. That distinction mattered. Every improvement required understanding. Repair? Integration? Nothing simply appeared because Horizon was ancient. The ship rewarded care. Later that evening, Kai stood alone inside hydroponics. Fresh green leaves stretched beneath warm artificial sunlight. Water quietly circulated through narrow channels. The peaceful atmosphere contrasted sharply with the mysteries unfolding elsewhere aboard the vessel. Someone approached behind him. Lyra. She carried 2 steaming cups. I guessed you'd still be working. Kai accepted one gratefully. Thank you. For several moments they simply watched the plants grow. Finally Lyra spoke. When this started, I thought we'd spend our lives chasing lost technology. Kai listened. She smiled softly. But lately, it feels like we're building something instead. Kai looked around the greenhouse. Technology disappears. Relationships don't. Lyra nodded. I think that's why people trust Horizon. They don't feel like people trust Horizon. They don't feel like they're using us. They feel like they're building with us. Neither noticed the maintenance unit quietly recording the conversation from the corridor. Crew cohesion observation updated. Mutual trust increasing. Recommendation. Continue shared non-operational activities. The recommendation remained hidden. The drone had quietly begun learning people. Deep beneath the forgotten colony. Change continued. Entire districts remained dark. But a few streets now glowed beneath ancient lamps. Maintenance drones repaired broken irrigation channels. Collapsed transport rails slowly straightened. Water once again flowed through forgotten reservoirs. No one celebrated. No one hurried. Everything proceeded with deliberate patience. The awakened architect drone moved among the restoration efforts without issuing spoken commands. Other dormant drones simply understood. Prepare, restore, wait. Above the colony, the orbital relay quietly tracked Horizon's position. Authorization remained pending. Hope remained active. Days later, Horizon received another unexpected visitor. Not a merchant, not a corporation, not a government patrol. A tiny courier shuttle requested permission to dock. Inside waited a young woman barely older than Lyra. She wore the simple gray uniform of an independent postal guild. The moment she stepped aboard, she bowed deeply. Captain Kai? Yes. I've been searching for Horizon for almost 3 weeks. Juno blinked. For us? The courier nodded enthusiastically. I have accumulated physical correspondence. Mason frowned. Physical? She smiled. She smiled. Proudly. Some frontier colonies don't trust digital archives. They write letters. She opened several reinforced storage cases. Hundreds, perhaps thousands. Handwritten envelopes, small packages, children's drawings, repair requests, merchant recommendations, invitations, thank you notes, even simple holiday greetings. Kai stared in surprise. All for Horizon? The courier laughed. Mostly. Some are addressed to specific crew members. Juno immediately searched through one stack. Wait, I have fan mail? The courier nodded. Quite a lot. Commander Hale quietly accepted a small package wrapped in worn blue cloth. He turned it over slowly. No return address. Only one sentence. To the captain who stayed during the evacuation. Hale's expression became unusually quiet. He said nothing. Kai noticed, but did not interrupt. Some gratitude deserved privacy. Lyra opened another envelope. Inside, a child's drawing showed Horizon surrounded by smiling cargo ships beneath colorful stars. Written carefully beneath the picture, "Thank you for bringing medicine before Grandpa got sick." Lyra's eyes softened. She silently handed the drawing to Kai. He looked at it for several seconds, then carefully placed it inside a protective archive sleeve. Engineering doesn't get enough appreciation. Mason pretended to complain. The courier immediately handed him another stack. Actually, half of these mention engineering. Mason blinked. They know who I am. Elias burst into laughter. They know who keeps fixing everything. The atmosphere aboard Horizon warmed in a way no system upgrade ever could. No reward from the cosmic exchange system compared to simple evidence that their work mattered. The system appeared anyway. Civilian trust significantly increased. Exchange credits awarded. Builder's reputation expanded. Passive effect enhanced. Kai dismissed the notification almost immediately. The real reward lay scattered across the bridge. Ink on paper. Children's handwriting. Old promises finally delivered. Far beyond every known chart, the moving fourth node altered course. Only slightly. Almost imperceptibly. Yet inside the memory transit archive, every synchronized star shifted to acknowledge the change. The route projection recalculated once more. Estimated interception reduced. Not because Horizon was approaching, because the unknown traveler had begun moving toward them. At the same moment, inside the hidden chamber beneath Horizon, the preserved memory carrier that Kai had refused to authorize emitted a single pulse. The transparent containment field shimmered. Ancient text slowly appeared across its surface. Captain demonstrates preservation before ambition. Evaluation continuing. No alarm sounded. No one aboard Horizon saw the message. Only the architect repair unit paused in an otherwise empty corridor. Its optical sensor brightened for the briefest moment. Then, almost imperceptibly, it inclined its head toward the hidden chamber, as though acknowledging someone, or something, that had quietly begun judging the captain of Horizon. The evaluation had begun. No alarms announced it. No ceremonial declaration echoed through Horizon's corridors. No one aboard the ship knew that somewhere within the hidden architecture of the memory transit archive, ancient systems had quietly started measuring every decision their captain made. For the architects, authority had never been inherited. Authority had never been inherited. It had always been demonstrated. Life aboard Horizon continued with remarkable normality. The morning briefing unfolded around the bridge's central table, while route projections drifted above it like constellations. Lyra finished organizing the latest cargo assignments. Our departure window is in 6 hours. She highlighted 3 destinations. Medical cultures to New Astor Colony. Water purification membranes to Helios Mining Settlement. Construction. Composites to Kestrel Junction. Kai examined every route. Any bottlenecks? Only one. Lyra enlarged a narrow gateway corridor. Traffic density increased nearly 20%. Juno frowned. That's unusual. Commander Hale quietly studied the Thar. Surrounding systems. No. It's expected. Everyone looked toward him. Our merchant network is growing. Eventually, the routes themselves become crowded. Kai remained thoughtful. So success creates congestion. Hale nodded. Every road eventually needs widening. The observations stayed with Kai long after the meeting ended. Infrastructure solved problems. Successful infrastructure eventually created new ones. The cosmic exchange system appeared. Regional logistics notice. Existing route capacity approaching recommended threshold. Suggested priority. Identify alternate corridor. Potential long-term benefit. Kai smiled faintly. It wasn't giving him an answer. It was pointing toward the next question. Exactly as it always had. Rather than departing immediately, Horizon delayed launch by 37 minutes. The decision confused several merchants. Until Kai contacted each convoy individually. We're redistributing departures. One captain sounded uncertain. Won't that delay everyone? For today? Kai overlaid a revised schedule. Tomorrow you'll all arrive earlier. The captains quietly studied the proposal. No one objected. Several minutes later, every merchant voluntarily accepted the new timing. Veristation Traffic Control watched the updated schedule appear automatically. One young controller blinked. They reorganized themselves. His supervisor smiled. No. They trusted someone else to organize them. The difference mattered. Elsewhere inside Horizon, Elias and Mason continued restoring forgotten maintenance corridors. The deeper sections of the vessel had become a maze of newly accessible passages. Mason pointed toward another sealed conduit, another hidden compartment. Elias inspected the surrounding alloy. No, this one's structural. He tapped the wall gently. Hear that? Mason listened. A low resonance answered from somewhere beyond the bulkhead. Empty space? Large empty space? More secret rooms? Elias grinned. With this ship, I've stopped assuming we've found everything. The architect repair unit quietly rolled beside them. Probability. Complete exploration of horizon. Extremely low. Mason sighed dramatically. Wonderful. So I get to repair surprises forever. The drone answered without emotion. Correct. Juno found Kai later inside the hydroponics section. He was examining the latest root projections while irrigation systems quietly nourished rows of fresh vegetables. You always think better in here. Kai looked around. It's peaceful. She folded her arms. I've been thinking. Dangerous? She ignored him. We're connecting colonies. Helping merchants. Repairing horizon. She looked directly at him. When do we actually decide to investigate the moving node? Kai considered the question carefully. When we know enough that the investigation helps more people than it endangers. She smiled. I knew you'd say something responsible. You sound disappointed. I was hoping for... She lowered her voice dramatically. Let's fly into ancient space and discover destiny. Kai shook his head. Destiny has poor maintenance records. She laughed loud enough for several nearby crew members to glance over. Far beyond horizon, another story quietly unfolded. Director Selena Voss finally received the completed behavioral analysis she had requested weeks earlier. Not cargo statistics, not profit forecasts. Trust mapping. The holographic network spread across her office. Every merchant recommendation. Every voluntary partnership. Every shared repair effort. Every emergency assistance record. Thin blue lines connected people instead of companies. One node glowed brighter than all the others. Horizon. Her assistant spoke quietly. We've never modeled commerce this way. Celine nodded. Because we've always modeled ownership. She zoomed outward. This is influence. The assistant frowned. Should we acquire them? Celine immediately shook her head. No, you can't acquire trust. You either deserve it, or you don't. She looked once more toward Horizon's expanding network, then issued a surprising order. Increase humanitarian investment throughout the frontier. The assistant blinked. To compete? No, to improve. For the first time in many years. Even a major corporation had begun changing because of Horizon's example. The galaxy continued evolving. Even when Kai never saw it happen. That evening, a small ceremony took place aboard one of the independent merchant freighters Horizon had assisted months earlier. No governments attended. No reporters arrived. The crew simply painted a small white line beneath the ship's name. A tradition from forgotten frontier culture. One white line. One life-changing voyage completed safely. The captain addressed his crew. Without Horizon, this ship wouldn't still exist. His granddaughter carefully painted another symbol beside the line. A small bridge. No one questioned it. By morning, 2 neighboring freighters copied the same mark. Within weeks, dozens more would quietly follow. No regulations required it. No one claimed ownership. The symbol simply spread. A white bridge. Among frontier merchants, it gradually came to mean one thing. Trusted route. Horizon remained completely unaware. Late that night, Kai returned alone to the memory transit archive. Not seeking answers. Simply observing. The chamber welcomed him with gentle golden light. The preserved memories drifted peacefully through the air. Children, builders, merchants, workers, lives connected by roads rather than ruled by empires. Kai sat quietly on one of the circular platforms. Minutes passed, perhaps longer. Eventually, the architect repair unit entered without being summoned. It stopped beside him. Neither spoke. Finally, the drone broke the silence. You are different. Kai looked toward it. Different from whom? Previous captains. Kai frowned slightly. You remember them? Fragments. What do you remember? The drone's optic dimmed thoughtfully. Some sought efficiency above all else. Some sought expansion. Some sought preservation. It turned toward Kai. You seek understanding. Kai remained silent. The drone continued. I cannot determine whether this is better, but it is uncommon. Before Kai could reply, one of the dormant projections awakened unexpectedly. Unlike the others, it displayed no colony, no gateway, no convoy. Only an elderly architect sitting quietly beside a river beneath an unfamiliar sky. The old figure spoke directly toward whoever would one day watch. If you were seeing this, then our road survived longer than we did. He smiled gently. Good. He picked up a smooth stone and tossed it into the river. Ripples expanded outward. We never believed civilization was measured by what it built. His eyes seemed almost alive despite the ancient recording. It is measured by what continues after builders disappear. The projection slowly dissolved. No dramatic ending. No revelation. Just quiet wisdom. Kai watched the final ripple vanish. Then stood. I think he spoke more to himself than anyone else. I'm beginning to understand. The cosmic exchange system appeared. Architect philosophy synchronization increased. Builder's reputation enhanced. Leadership evaluation continuing. Reward, none. Kai smiled. Some lessons needed no rewards. At that same moment, somewhere beyond every mapped frontier, the moving fourth node altered course once again. Its trajectory no longer wandered unpredictably. Now it aligned with one forgotten route, one that had not existed on any modern chart. Inside Horizon's archive, the ancient star map automatically expanded. A faint line stretched across impossible distances, then stopped. Estimated time until potential contact, unknown. Estimated route completion. One additional synchronized node required. The display lingered only a few seconds before fading. Yet, deep beneath the forgotten colony, the awakened architect drone looked toward the stars above its ruined world. For the first time since its awakening, it moved toward the surface. Somewhere in the darkness between civilizations, two ancient journeys had quietly begun moving toward one another. The first distress signal arrived without panic. That alone made Kai pay attention. Most emergency broadcasts from the frontier were desperate, fragmented or overloaded with interference. This transmission was calm, precise, professional. Lyra redirected it onto the bridge display. Civilian logistics vessel Dawn Trader requesting navigation consultation. No combat emergency, no mechanical failure. Kai accepted the transmission. The image of an elderly cargo captain appeared. Exhaustion lining his face despite his composed expression. Captain Kai. I apologize for disturbing Horizon. Kai shook his head. Tell me what's happened. The captain enlarged a regional map. Our primary gateway remains operational. Our cargo goat remains intact. Our crew is safe. He paused. But the route no longer makes economic sense. Kai immediately understood. Not every disaster involved explosions. Some simply made survival impossible. The captain continued. A new pirate patrol has begun charging unofficial transit fees. They don't attack. They inspect. They delay. They confiscate small percentages. Commander Hale narrowed his eyes. Gray piracy. The captain nodded. They stay below the threshold that would justify military intervention. Lyra quietly calculated projected losses. 8% per shipment. The captain sighed. Our profit margin is 6. Kai leaned forward. So every successful delivery loses money. Exactly. No battle. No explosions. An entire trade corridor quietly dying through mathematics. The bridge became silent. Juno finally spoke. They're starving a route instead of destroying it. Commander Hale nodded. The smarter kind of piracy. Kai enlarged surrounding systems. There has to be another corridor. Lyra immediately began calculating. There are 3. She highlighted each. The northern route adds 6 days. The southern passage crosses unstable gravity tides. The eastern gateway, she hesitated, hasn't been used in 32 years. Kai's attention settled on the final option. Why? Why? No records. Only abandonment, Commander Hale quietly added, which usually means everyone forgot why they stopped using it. The cosmic exchange system appeared. Strategic opportunity detected. Historic route. Verification recommended. Potential risk. Unknown. Potential reward. Regional logistics recovery. Kai smiled slightly. Still no answers. Only possibilities. We investigate. Mason looked surprised. We're taking Horizon? Kai shook his head. No, we're taking information. Within hours, Horizon departed Vera accompanied by only 2 volunteer merchant vessels. Not an escort, not a convoy, a survey mission. The forgotten eastern route unfolded before them like an abandoned highway across the stars. Ancient navigation beacons floated silently in space. Many had failed centuries earlier. Others still blinked weakly through accumulated dust. Lyra frowned while reviewing sensor readings. These beacons shouldn't still have power. Elias answered from engineering. Architect capacitors. They were built to last. Kai quietly noted every operational beacon. Another pattern emerged. Every functioning beacon formed an almost perfectly straight line. Every failed beacon sat outside it. Interesting. Commander Hale looked over. What? They weren't all built equally. Hours later, Horizon reached the first abandoned gateway relay. Its enormous ring drifted silently above a shattered moon. Unlike modern stations, no docks surrounded it. No civilian traffic. No military presence. Just silence. Mason stared through the viewport. Feels lonely. The gateway itself remained inactive, but not destroyed. Kai slowly circled the station using long-range scans. No battle damage, no structural collapse, no reactor breach. Lyra looked confused. So why abandon it? No one answered, because no one knew. Juno suddenly spoke. Movement. Every display turned. A small maintenance drone drifted slowly across the abandoned structure. Then, another. Then another. None acknowledged Horizon. None transmitted warnings. They simply continued repairing the station, as though someone had never told them civilization had disappeared. Elias stared. They're still working. Commander Hale frowned. For 30 years, the Architect repair unit quietly rolled onto the bridge. It observed the external drones for several seconds, then spoke. Maintenance protocol. Still valid. Kai looked toward it. Can we communicate? The drone paused, attempting. Nothing happened. Several long seconds passed. Finally, one external drone stopped. Its optical sensor slowly turned toward Horizon, then resumed working. Communication failed. Recognition succeeded. Lyra quietly whispered. They acknowledged us. Further scans revealed something even stranger. The station's power grid remained nearly 83% functional. Life support operated inside sealed sections. Environmental controls remained active. Artificial gravity still functioned. Someone, or something, had spent decades maintaining a station no one used. Kai spoke softly. They weren't waiting for repairs. They were waiting for people. Back aboard Horizon, the survey team entered the station cautiously. No weapons drawn. No military formation. Just engineers, analysts, observers. The corridors remained astonishingly clean. Maintenance drones quietly polished floors, replaced lighting panels, repaired ventilation ducts. Entire gardens flourished beneath artificial sunlight. Not wild growth, maintained growth. Fresh flowers bloomed beside empty benches. Commander Hale slowly removed his gloves. The air, Lyra smiled. Cleaner than Vera. Inside the central operations chamber, ancient holographic displays still floated above the command platform. Most remained dark. One suddenly illuminated as Kai approached. Not because he touched anything, because he entered. The display projected dozens of transportation routes, freight capacity, civilian migration, emergency reserves, agricultural shipments. Every statistic froze exactly 32 years earlier. Then, a single message appeared. Awaiting route supervisor authorization. Kai blinked. Route supervisor. The title felt strangely familiar. Not captain. Not administrator. Not governor. Route supervisor. Someone responsible for keeping civilization connected. Nothing more. Nothing less. The projection disappeared before anyone could investigate further. The evaluation continued. Silently. Back inside engineering, Elias discovered another surprise. The station's reactor had consumed less than 4% of its reserve fuel across 3 decades. He stared at the numbers repeatedly. Impossible. The maintenance unit corrected him. Incorrect. Efficient. Kai gathered everyone before departure. We're not reopening this route. Mason looked surprised. We're not? Not yet. Kai pointed toward dozens of maintenance drones still working quietly throughout the station. We don't understand enough. If merchants return tomorrow, and something fails, people die. Commander Hale nodded approvingly. Responsible. Kai smiled faintly. I prefer boring over reckless. The crew laughed, but nobody disagreed. The return journey became far more productive. Instead of promises, Horizon carried information. Structural assessments, beacon conditions, reactor diagnostics, navigation corrections, risk evaluations. Everything required to eventually restore the forgotten corridor safely. Not today? Soon? Properly? 3 days later? Kai presented his findings before Administrator Rowan and representatives from neighboring colonies. No dramatic speeches. No dramatic speeches. Only facts, maps, timelines, repair estimates, required manpower, projected benefits, projected risks. When he finished, silence filled the conference room. Finally, one merchant stood. If we contribute workers, will everyone benefit equally? Kai answered immediately. Yes, another asked. Who owns the route? Kai looked around the room before replying. No one. The route belongs to everyone who keeps it alive. The discussion changed instantly. No longer negotiation. Planning. Volunteers began offering engineering crews. Navigation specialists. Construction ships. Even corporations pledged equipment. Not because Horizon demanded it. Because someone had finally shown them a future worth building together. That evening, the Cosmic Exchange System appeared. Regional cooperation milestone achieved. Exchange credits awarded. Builder's reputation increased. Hidden evaluation progress updated. Percentage hidden. Kai dismissed the notification without checking the reward. His attention rested elsewhere. Across the station, merchants who had once competed fiercely now argued over who could contribute more resources. The irony made him smile. Far beyond known civilization, beneath the restored colony, the awakened architect drone reached an enormous sealed transit chamber. For the first time in countless years, it extended one mechanical hand toward an ancient control pillar. The pillar awakened instantly. No authorization requested, no security challenge issued. Only one question appeared in ancient architect script. Has the road found its builder? The drone remained motionless, then slowly answered. Not yet, but he is walking toward it. Across unimaginable distances, hidden systems older than modern civilization quietly received the response. One after another, ancient lights began awakening in the darkness between the stars. Not enough to reveal the truth. only enough to announce one thing. The next stage of the journey had already begun.